agenda, please. Kelly.
He's trying to get us started here. We're good? BOCC, Custer County BOCC meeting will come to order. Let the record show that today is August the 6th, 2019. The time is 9 o'clock a.m. Ms. Ballard, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, ma'am? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've sat in some meetings and found it interesting how Pledge of Allegiance is handled sometimes. In a large group, people say, stand and join me in the pledge. Turn around and start to stand the pledge, and people are still trying to stand up, get out of their chairs. It's like, oh my God, take it easy. Madam Clerk to the Board, would you conduct the roll call, please?
I would. Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Candace.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
Clerk to the Board Kelly Campbell. Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Audience introductions.
Jackie Bubas for the Sun.
Tracy Ballard for the Valley Beat.
Thank you. Welcome. Amendment to the agenda.
I'm here.
Nor do I.
I haven't, sir.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. I don't believe we have any. Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to begin?
You know, we just met a couple days ago, and I don't think I really did a whole lot since then. I've spoken with multiple people about the road issues. With the rain we're having, you know, it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is the farmers are loving it, I suspect, but the roads are getting beat up. So I spoke to several people about we're doing the best we can. They were begging for mag chloride and stuff on their roads. Other than that, I think I went to the meeting yesterday, obviously, and with the clinic board, and that's about all I really did.
Yeah, since the 31st, we had a broadband meeting, of course, up at Silver Cliff Town Hall.
Oh, yeah.
That's on the agenda today to discuss. Obviously, all three of us were at that. Flying trip to Nebraska and back over the weekend. And then, of course, yesterday we met with, was intended to be a board-to-board meeting with the clinic, hospital district board, but certainly was more than that, so, and that's also on the agenda, so we can talk about that too. And that's really all I had.
I had same meetings. Only thing different, I did talk with the Frontier Pathways lead, two directors that came up here, and Chamber of Commerce yesterday, anyway, what they're looking for, they have bus tours that give tours around the state, and they're looking for destinations. They see the opportunity to bring them up here, and got the tourism board involved with that, to get them to do like a tours to castles thing they got going, or farm ranches to castles, where they take them out to Elon Parker's place, and then bring them down to Bishop's Castle, and they talk about different things. So we're trying to get them to stay overnight and do those kinds of things. So I think it's a great opportunity with the tourism board to work it. They want to partner 50-50 between Pueblo County and us. Turns out Pueblo County does not have a tourism board, believe it or not. Strange. I don't know why. So they want to be able to partner with us, throw in for a 50-50 grant in order to set up this thing. It's a $50,000 deal, I think. So we'll see how that plays out, and as soon as some more information comes, I'll bring it to the board. Also talked to Road and Bridge, Gary Hyde. He's on vacation this week, and he did a great job of putting a culvert in out at the airport and blading a path into where we're going to put the fill dirt for the additional 3 or 4 hangars at the north end of the runway. So So they'll have some signs, gate that allows them, anybody to come in and points to where the fill dirt's gonna go. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, was that a tourism board meeting yesterday?
No, it was.
They had not posted it.
No, it was not a tourism board meeting, they had one rep there, to be sitting in the meeting to listen.
So it was a
It was.
Frontier
it was a
Pathways
Frontier
meeting?
Pathways asked the Chamber of Commerce, and they wanted a commissioner to be there, and so they called me, cause I am the Pathways director.
So who was at the meeting on behalf of Frontier Pathways? Anybody local
It was me.
besides yourself, I mean?
No.
Okay.
We had a guy from the Saddle Club / Chamber, I can't remember his name,
Yeah.
you know him.
Yeah. Ron.
Yes, and, the tourism board, member, and I can't place her name. So they're gonna get together, we'll see what partnership we can involve there.
Alright, anything else? None, we will move forward, get out of this document. Upper Ark report, obviously there's a meeting Thursday, their monthly enterprise and conservation district meetings. A couple of things, I did not have a chance to call the water referee this morning, but I'm sure you gentlemen received a copy of the email as well from San Isabel Land Trust that a couple of things have occurred. Now, until I talk to somebody, meaning Kate Brewer, I'm gonna take it as rumor, because I don't know this for a fact, but San Isabel Land Trust indicated in an email that the entire augmentation case has been re-referred to the water judge. Now, if that's a fact, to me that has huge implications
What does that mean?
about where we're at.
I read that and I didn't
Yeah, I didn't
understand
Yeah.
what that
I
was.
don't know what that means.
So, initially, this case, 3076, was filed with the Division II Water Court. And the judge referred it to the referee, meaning I'm not gonna deal with this until
It's right.
it's ripe. It has to be dealt with. If that's the case, then I'll deal with it. But until then, it goes to the referee.
Right.
Well, Mardell DiDomenico was the referee at the time. Since then, that she's retired and Kate Brewer came on.
Mhm.
So Kate Brewer indicated on one of the conference calls that she would be the referee handling this case, probably through its completion, unless something changes. And then there is always a possibility that it could be re-referred to the water court judge. Well, that has now happened, Larry Schwartz.
So what's that do, reset a time clock?
Don't know about that. It means if in fact that happens, my understanding is now it goes back to Judge Schwartz, and because something significant has occurred, that the referee said, this is above my pay grade, it's going back to the judge. Now, no idea what that is, that's supposition on my part. I haven't talked to Larry Schwartz or Kate Brewer about that, but I need to, and I'm gonna try to do that this afternoon. So something's going on for that to be re-referred to the judge. I think it's a big deal, but maybe they'll discuss that tomorrow. Had a conversation today about, a couple conversations actually this morning before I ever left home about this augmentation case. There is a little talk about whether or not our two county representatives can even vote on anything to do with the augmentation plan, since in fact they are both either directly or indirectly opposers to
Who
it.
brought that up? That doesn't make sense.
Chairman of the Upper Ark Conservancy District.
Really? I don't know.
So, Mike Shields obviously is one of our reps. He is an opposer. He's part of a group. And Bill Donnelly is one of our reps.
Conflict, maybe.
And he is on the board of directors of a group that opposed it. So, I'm sure they're getting ready to cry foul and cry conflict of interest. I maintain conflict of interest, Mr. Clint, is a personal decision, and tied to that is the choice to abstain or not. But I also know, according to parliamentary law, it has nothing to do with your ability to participate in discussion and debate. Kendall Burgermeister preached a 30-minute sermon one day on, you were there, on conflict of interest.
And I challenged him on
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
my opinion is, you can preach all you want about it, you cannot put that on me. That is a personal choice, as I understand it. So, we'll see. There's some concern that their attorney may try to raise enough stink to get it before a judge on a conflict of interest dismissal, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't see the conflict there, to tell you the truth. I mean, they're gonna take a stand for or against it
Right.
anyway.
Right.
It's not something that's personal to them that they are gonna benefit by taking one position or another. They're just representing the feelings of a lot of the citizens up here, so. And I don't see why they would have to, I mean, they're trying to, I guess, threaten them into claiming they have a conflict, but I wouldn't do it if I were them.
Yeah, so, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see. I'm really interested in why this got re-referred to Judge Schwartz. That will be very interesting. If in fact it's true, which, San Isabel indicated that their attorney was told that, correct? Is what I remember reading in there. So, we'll see. Anyway, that's about all I have on it. I will be going to that meeting on Thursday for sure. Anything else, Commissioner Hannon?
No, sir.
Okay, attorney items?
I attended the meeting yesterday with the hospital district board. That's all I've done since our last meeting.
Glad you were there.
Well, I even wore a tie, the only one in the room, just let them
Oh,
know.
I-
I was an attorney and they better not mess with me.
Excuse me.
He had his tie on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But you had a great
He
time.
meant
It
to
was a
say-
good tie.
He
The
meant
old
to say
choo-choo.
anybody that was anybody was
Yeah.
wearing a
Well,
tie.
yeah. You had your choo-choo tie on. I noticed that when Commissioner Fritz complimented you on that, but yes.
Everybody did listen to him in the end.
Well,
But you brought up a terrific point when you tied the two documents together. That needed to be said, and I appreciate you doing that.
And they were arguing about that.
Yeah.
They didn't believe that they knew whatever they called it superseded it and it didn't matter. That was nonsense.
and there, I mean, the amended service plan that was approved in 2015, they said that took that out, but it didn't.
Did not.
No, absolutely didn't.
So, I'm glad you were there. That was.
And they can't take it out unilaterally. They can't decide to ignore stuff. That would have gone through the board to approve.
Would it have had to go through?
So,
Yeah.
on the agenda, so we can dissect that along with some other things, hopefully, when we get.
Oh, Gary, I thought you weren't here.
So we
Pardon
will.
me? I thought you weren't gonna be here.
Well, I'm on vacation,
Yeah, I know. I can't believe you're that.
This is
kind
how
of-
I like
I
it.
mean, I know this is a lot of fun and you didn't want Rusty to have it. Holy crap! I just told everybody you weren't.
I can believe it.
I call it dedication. I call it.
All right. Anything else, sir? Public comment. I know, it's hard, isn't it? We'll go on to staff reports. We'll come back to public comment later. We probably won't be taking public comment during our two agenda items because they are not action items, but certainly we'll have public comment after that. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
RC, Rooster
Sir.
Cogburn or Rusty Christensen?
Yeah,
Anything work? Anything work?
Clint,
Yeah, I'll just give him his paycheck.
How are ya?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Just look.
I think there's a lot of other things you're more interested in than just your paycheck.
Yes, sir.
I doubt it.
No.
Look like we got a fancy report
That's
to
what
look at. Mm-hmm. All I gotta do is find it.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy. He's got 5 bullets.
scraper showed up Friday night about 7:45. So I went out there and unloaded it.
The right size?
Did it start?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but, well, I took it around the landfill, but I haven't dug it yet. I'm gonna do that today.
Wow.
Is it one they've had up here before?
The same, yeah, I don't know if it's exactly the same machine, but it's a 623K, so. About the same machine that I run every year.
Yeah.
It took 5 months to get it here, but I was getting a little nervous.
Yeah, getting a little short on the distance on that trench.
So if I get another 400 feet, I feel pretty good about it. There'll still be about 300, 350 probably left to dig next year or whenever.
Sweet.
Yeah. But they haven't sent me anything to sign as far as an agreement or nothing, you know.
Trust them.
What's the deal?
Came through Four Rivers.
Actually, it's Caterpillar.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
And they're just donating it out of their kindness of their
That
heart.
would be nice.
Yeah, they feel so bad because they took so long to get it here.
Right.
That's
Like
where
they'll
you
just
go.
give up $26,000.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Everybody get the expansion proposal from Golder Engineers?
Mhm. Did everybody read it word for word?
No.
Mhm. But we did get it.
So what's the next step, Rusty?
What's that, Bill?
What's gonna be the next step there, where they want?
This is just their proposal for, review of site. We're gonna have a pre-design meeting with Colorado Department of Health and Environment, like I did in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have another meeting with them, just with the engineers, just to make sure we can actually move forward with the expansion.
Who's gonna pay for the surveying? Us?
That's in their proposal. Along with site investigation, the engineering design and operations plan. Closure and post-closure, cost estimates, regulatory reviews, certificate of
Right.
designation.
But those aren't things that are gonna cost money particularly.
Those are the things that's involved in the 115,000 that they want.
Is the surveying and all that included in it?
I'm sure.
Okay.
How much was it?
115,000. But that's, I mean, that's just the beginning.
Sure.
Still have to go in there and prep the area, get the topsoil stripped off of it. And I'm sure there's gonna have to be some gas probes. We might not have to do any groundwater monitoring on some of that.
Can you
I'm sure
start-
they're gonna want some gas probes.
Are you allowed to do anything before? Like, for example, you've got the scraper here now. Sometimes you could go over there and move some topsoil. Is that possible? Save a little money.
I'm not gonna be able to do it in the month that I have that scraper.
That's what I'm asking.
just gonna be digging. But there's other things we need to do. We need to move that well that we use for the domestic well. That's kinda down in that draw. We're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to build a fence east and west between our property and Cypress. A 4 barbed wire fence,
To the west?
east and west.
East.
Oh, east-west fence.
Running.
Yeah, and then they're estimating another 5 to 15,000 on the design and operation plan. It's not included in 115.
Yeah, it's gonna be a beast. But time is definitely running out, so.
address.
Yeah, it just seems. So we're gonna click us for 115 grand, and then CDPHE is gonna turn around and charge us 10,000 to read the damn thing. It just doesn't seem right.
We've been saying that for as long as I remember.
I'll bet you have.
Uh-huh.
So, but
Seems like that Golder might have that wrong too, because I think CDPHE is actually giving these rural communities a break on that.
yeah. So, when would we know about monitoring wells when they do a site inspection?
Yeah, I'll have to, that'll probably come up at the meeting with the state.
And you don't have a date on that first meeting,
That would be up to us whenever we decide to go.
because we better have our money in hand when we get ready to bust a move on it, right? They said they'd work with us,
Yeah, they will.
but
Well, I think it'd be important to have that meeting up there with the state, just to see if it's, you know, if everything's a go.
well, though, and if I read it correctly, we should be jumping up and down, clapping our hands and celebrating when they waived the liner system and we don't have to have a leach pond. I mean, those are two big
Right.
deals.
Oh.
It is a big deal.
Huge.
So,
And in 2010, when I went up there and got this started back then, it was 150,000 for the engineering.
it's down to
And so it's down some because of the, I'm sure there's been some regulatory changes with the state too. A little easier on us. Still gonna be quite an expense.
Now, they say they're waiving the use of the monitoring wells, correct? Liner systems, surface water containment, and
Okay,
I missed
that's
that.
where we're at right now.
Yeah, I missed that because it's on the next page until just now.
Those are the waivers that we have in place right now
Okay.
for our designated area. As far
For
as
the
it-
designated,
yeah,
not for the
as far
proposed.
as the expansion area, we don't know yet.
Well,
We
see,
won't know until we get to the meeting with Colorado Department of Health. Which they all.
oh, yeah, as part of the current
Right,
facility.
yeah.
Well, we'll hope that stays
Right.
for the
And they
proposed.
sounded pretty positive, the state did, when they were here, so.
Yeah, yeah.
But we won't know all that information until we have that meeting with them.
Good.
And I really wish they could come down here for that.
Where's the meeting at? Tim? Chance to drive in a pickup into McDonald's.
I really don't.
We could request it, huh? Doesn't mean they'll honor it, but.
Might not be that bad idea, just tell me what the season's like. Walk it with us so they understand.
That's what the sign says.
Yeah, we just think it'd be best if the permitting people from Colorado Department of Health and Environment would come down to our landfill and actually see what.
Actually see what they're talking about. Of course, maybe for that, they might want us to put a liner in if they saw something, it's a two-edged sword.
Well, as dry as it is, that should speak for itself, though, shouldn't it? If they were here.
Right. See, when they were looking at it before, and Jill, our permitting person, she said, when I told her what was going on, she said, we'll just have to put up a berm. And I said, how about leach field? No, you shouldn't have to do that. Liner, no, you shouldn't have to do that. So,
Dropping off
whether
somebody
that
off
means
there.
anything or not, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
But that meeting will tell us a lot on what we need to really get going on.
do you I mean, I would be comfortable with you asking them to come down here, let's have a meeting.
Yeah.
Looks like it's down
Get
there.
the engineers down here, get CDP
Right.
down here.
Yeah. So, would you guys consent to that, if,
Yeah, I think that would be
pick a
fine.
date and say, hey, you'll come down, the commissioners will darn sure meet with you, and do a site visit, and then come back here and have a meeting.
Well, they would be July.
Be
I
July.
think that'd be a great thing, because before it was just me and the engineers in the state.
I think you should.
And so then I had to try to explain everything to everybody on what happened at the meeting, how everything is gonna go.
We won't be stepping on your toes if we're part of this with you. Will we? I mean, do you feel that, I don't wanna usurp your authority in this by us being there and,
No, I think it'd be
You're okay with
great if
that?
the commissioners were there. So
Okay.
everybody's on the same page, everybody knows exactly what needs to be done in
wonderful,
3.5 years.
Right,
okay.
excellent.
I didn't wanna make it seem like we didn't feel that you're capable of doing this.
Yeah, I think the commissioners
Okay.
really need to be involved in that. I think that's really be good.
I think you can count on it, if we can get a date picked, why, we'll be there.
Okay. Won't happen in August.
Not unless
You'd
they
be
meet
busy.
on the scraper.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Something to ask them, when you
Alright.
scraper certified.
Are you driving your skid steer around yet?
No, they haven't sent us an email. The lady that actually approves those was on vacation last weekend, so she should be back to review everything, and then that'd be the final approval. Then we could go back to Fort Rivers and
They holding it still?
find, no,
Gotta find one for it.
yeah,
The town judge just spoke to.
and finding one for the same price is gonna be pretty tough.
Well,
you
we'll
don't think
see.
they'll honor what we talked about before?
No, because that machine, I'm sure that they'll be able to find something. Might have a few hours on it more, but they'll find something.
Is that Ames?
I think it had 200 hours on
That's
it.
not Ames. Same
It's
model.
a nice little machine. It's gonna have to be, anything bigger would be more money. Assuming we did that grant, we should have put in for 45,000 instead of
10
just
grand more.
35. But then that got way too soon. But I'll get on the phone with the engineers and I'll talk to Jill and the state and see what they have to say about September sometime. Possibly October, whatever works out. Sooner the better.
Yeah.
It's
Not do it in November and December, we tried that. I'm an office boy, I don't like to be out there in that cold weather.
You froze last time we did it.
It was a little chilly though. So, where's $1,600 gonna come from for a second quarter payment?
Where's it gonna come from?
Yeah. From that bag of money you carry in here?
Professional services, which is broke in my budget. This is that report, where I do the recorder for the state. So that's probably, like, right around 5,000 probably a year.
And you're tapped out.
This is part of your report, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
professional services.
And you're the only one who needs to sign that, eh?
And what is this fee for? The 1,600?
That's our fee for paying for
For every vehicle, every yard of trash the trash trucks bring in, all that, we have to pay the state for.
Your
and then
taxes.
pay them some more when we wanna expand the landfill.
Yeah, I understand.
And pay them some more when we want somebody to read the report.
That's the one that gets me.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
So,
I understand an X-ray technician X-raying your heart and a cardiologist reading, and there's two charges, but that's not what this is.
I don't get it.
And if I may, before I forget, did we get any vouchers turned in off the Lake Louise tornado?
Oh, not as far as I know.
And we may not, we'll see.
Yeah.
I would have thought they'd have got on that fairly quickly if they were going to.
Unless they don't read the paper.
Well, we mailed them.
Mailed it to them.
That's right.
Yeah. We mailed them the voucher actually. Oh well, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't think anybody's been out there yet.
Certainly the right thing to do.
Alright. Excuse me.
Anything unusual you need to report?
So anyway, on that skid steer, the county evidently buys it and gets reimbursed
Right.
from the
That's
state.
fine.
We'll pay for that out of capital improvement. General fund capital improvement. So we're good there.
Okay. I'll give the state a call, I'll call the engineers too, and see if it's possible. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me to go up to Denver
Right.
when the project is here.
Just make that a big deal to them. I said, it's very important you see what we pay, understand it, so we can get on the same sheet. And the commissioners will both be here. That way, all of us are there. We
Right.
can't go up there, we're not gonna drag our
Exactly.
necessarily.
Well, if they don't come down here, then I think we should be
Well,
prepared to
that,
go up
that,
there. It's for old Rust-Oleum to.
well, but my point is, he needs to say it like that, so that it puts a little pressure
Try
on.
to get him down.
It's easier to get the commissioners to be involved.
Exactly.
Because we got a lot of other things to do too.
Yeah.
Just like they do.
We have to run this county, come on.
Oh, oh no, that's right, we don't have an administrative assistant to run the county, do we? Okay. No, I think if we have to go up there, we should all go with you. That's my personal feeling about that.
I'd definitely like to go.
I think it makes a difference, so.
But the
Yeah,
tourniquet
so if you'll let us
Get it
know
down
what.
here. This little rural community can't afford it.
That's right. And we're scared of it. I tell them that.
Scares me to death.
Yeah, tell them we're scared of going to Denver, so.
I'm like Highway 69, but all like 25.
Can you shoot us some tentative dates to see? I mean, I'm sure
Ask
you'll
them
talk
for a
to them,
window of
but
time, and then so we can mesh.
be great. All right, sir.
So trying to get the state and the engineers and the commissioners all on the same day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why you get paid.
Oh, boy.
Okay, anything else, sir?
Thanks, Rusty.
Need an administrative assistant.
You
You
do.
and me both.
Thank
You do. Good to see you, man.
Okay.
Thanks for your work out there, man.
Gotcha. See
We
you,
can
Kelly.
share one.
Okay.
It's working.
Yeah. Works for me.
Road and Bridge. Good morning, sir. How are ya?
Pretty good.
Good.
Nice.
On vacation, but still in the county, huh?
Yeah.
You're leaving the county.
Well, I did for the weekend, I got back
Ah.
Sunday night.
Okay.
How are you, Gary?
He's scared of I-25 too.
Yeah.
And 70.
He might not be afraid of going to Denver. He might be tougher than me, for sure. Well, how's things?
Pretty good.
Good.
The rains are pretty, it's more for us.
Think so, you think?
Yeah, 260 really took a beat and we had to, been out there for a week and a half.
Yeah,
Trying to get things fixed.
Scott was telling me that.
It's really horrendous erosion out there. Water really got flowing. And,
Never had to close it though, huh?
no, we
Close.
just had to go out and spend some after hours, some late hours.
Yeah.
Get passable where it was safe to travel and kind of come bang spots off. It's just kind of put us behind on the other roads that we wanted to get lighted, but it is what it is.
I saw a couple of water damage areas on the upper part of Muddy Lane already on the chip seal. Couldn't
Oh,
believe it.
yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have, I'd seen them just a few days ago, we're gonna have to get out there and fix that.
Yeah,
Like
it's like,
conquistador.
God.
Well, it's just before you get to the gravel.
Willow
part.
and
Yeah.
muddy.
Yeah, it just deteriorated right there. Unfortunately, when we put our hot mix down, that base wasn't in very good
Right.
shape, so it just,
On top of a crumbling base.
yeah, pretty much.
But the rest, that chip seal over there looks good. I mean,
He did a good job, I thought.
Yeah, Hermit and.
Hermit turned out.
Hermit.
Kelly turned out nice.
Well, yeah,
They should be good for another 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. good.
You gonna do that to Colony and Colfax?
I think Colfax is probably scheduled to get done next summer for sure.
You got that hot mix down on the shoulder already.
Yeah,
Will that last all winter?
God bless you.
yeah, it'll last till we put our chip seal on it next summer.
Okay.
But we only had, that's a little over 3 miles on Colfax.
Yeah, it looked like quite a bit.
Mile, so we'll do the other 2 mile with hot mix next summer and then go top that with chip seal.
Nice.
Yeah, it looked good. It looked really good. Well, I had 3 phone calls. Upper portion of Hermit. I drove up there the other day, man, there is some serious rock sticking out of there. It's just eroded around it and,
Yeah, I told Roger if he had the opportunity to send a guy or 2 up there this week, maybe we can get that fixed back there. I did the one call on it, so.
Is there enough to pull over the top of it?
Yeah, I think we can get back down in the ditch. In fact, that's one of the reasons I did the one call, is because I think we can get down in the ditch and pull some of that material back up, work the rocks out, without having to haul material.
yeah.
Them cobbles, it's getting really rough. I hate to see it in that shape that it is right now. It's gone too long without doing something on it, so.
Yeah, there was some serious sized rocks. I mean, you couldn't even avoid them. You had to drive over them because they were clear across the road.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't get on it this week, we'll definitely get on it next week. That's right.
Call those folks back. 2 of those people actually lived above that.
Yeah, I hate to see that they're having to drive it like in the condition that it's in.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. One guy said, "I've quit. I'm driving all the way around muddy," and
Yeah. It's pretty rough.
so. Anyway,
I saw your email about surplus equipment.
Yeah, is that okay?
yeah, that's good.
Before you do that,
You had a chance to go over it?
since we're talking roads here, had another, I just forwarded you an email that I got over the weekend. And I don't know where these roads are, if you didn't use any numbers, but it had to do with, a bunch of stuff up on the top of, Antelope Valley. Some roads that, I don't know that the county even has some of the, we're supposed to be cutting some of these, so take a look at it, figure out what the names and correlate to what we are accountable for.
And you just sent that email?
Yeah, I forwarded it to you. Both your accounts.
Oh, okay. I was in the office the other day, I didn't see one come through.
I just did.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look. Yeah, if it's all right with you guys, I'll go ahead and post that probably. We need to run that for at least 2 weeks, is that correct, Tony?
I'm not sure, but it'd probably be a good idea to run it twice.
I don't know if we're under any policy guidelines to how long to post it, but I would think it's gonna take more than just like a vacancy announcement, you know.
Yeah, I thought maybe I'd post it in next week's paper and then the following.
Is it gonna be an auction, or how are we gonna handle it?
We'll just take sealed bids.
Sealed bids on everything?
And then at the next, commissioner meeting, I'll come to you, maybe look at the bids and review them.
Anything worth bidding on?
No,
Or is it all
not
pretty
for me.
well spent?
Well, it's pretty well spent, with the exception of that, stacker out here, yeah, I think that, it's probably about 18 It's worth something.
Yeah.
The other stuff's not worth much.
Can you forward that to Vern? He'll put it on the website as well.
Yeah, I'll do that. And then while I'm thinking about it, I had, one of our guys, equipment operator slash truck driver, he resigned. He's moving out of state. His last day's 15th, so I'm looking at replacing him. And then another one is moving out of state. His house is under contract. He's got that for sale, so I've got 2 guys in those. One's, been there for about 5 years, and the other one's less than a year. Anyway, I've got 2 that fell off the list.
And before I forget to ask it too, lay down machine, is it back here or is it still in Denver?
And it's still in Denver, and that's gonna be a situation we're gonna have to figure out what to do with. It's a low-hour, older machine, but it's all computerized. And parts are obsolete.
Hey, really?
It's our chip seal machine, that's the machine that
I
spreads.
said lay down, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure,
sorry.
I understand.
Yeah,
I know, after talking to, Roger talked to Tony down there in Fremont County, they picked one up, a used one, a good used one, and, I think they came around 30 or 40,000. I believe the new one's gonna go for 150, we really can't justify spending that much on a machine when we only use 3 or 4 times a year, 3 or 4 days a year, so.
If we're gonna buy a brand new one, we better start chip sealing a lot of county roads.
That's right, that's the only way you can.
Is that something
How
that,
much are they?
If you buy a new one, they're 150. And just like ours, it's a 19-year-old machine, it's only got 250 hours.
What?
Exactly.
is that something that in a governmental agency between the two towns and the county sharing a machine or something?
Well,
They've been hiring us to do.
Yeah, I know they have, but I was thinking, does it make sense?
we borrowed Fremont County
Right.
machine this year. I don't know, that's something to approach them about, maybe give them, some money and just use theirs, I don't know.
Yeah, but I
That's
think
something
Jay
to
was
explore.
asking, is it something that the two towns in the county could consider buying one together on a shared deal?
That's what I was thinking,
But
maybe.
still, it's a lot of money, man, that'd be
It is.
25 grand a piece for the towns, or,
Mhm.
but I agree, if we need to throw a bone to Fremont County, we ought to consider doing that.
And what I'll do is I'll check and see what it costs to hire this out, have a company come in. I'll do a lot of research on it, seeing what it costs to get a company to come in and do it for us versus us doing it ourselves and things of that nature. Fortunately, we got some time to get all this done. But my thoughts are, that machine that's in Denver, we need to go get it, bring it back here and do whatever it takes to get it going. And then once it's, then take it to Richburg or someplace and just wash it in. It's my understanding it's been nothing but headache ever since we got it, because of the fact that it's not a manually operated machine, everything's computer on it. It's just,
I'm not gonna stand up there and crank down the,
no, and to convert it to a manual machine, you'd be
I
far
think you'd
better
be able
off just.
to upgrade the electronics on it. That's kind of what it is.
Well, that's what we're gonna check into, but I'm not very optimistic. We'll just see what happens.
Anything unusual going on that you need to tell us about that we don't know?
all right, sir, well,
Got a question in the back.
oh,
Oh, I just had a question on, I'm not sure the road number, but like out towards, or past Lake Dewey's, like towards Bull Domingo, that road, the washboards are really close together, and no matter how slow you go, it bangs up your car.
Got the one
Really
down
bad.
below the dam?
No, like it, where you
Where the
veer
Y
off.
is.
Yeah, where the Y is, and then all the way up,
East
I'm not,
of it,
yeah.
Yeah, goes around the dam too.
Oh, okay,
It goes
yeah.
around and
Yeah,
it gets
that's right.
washboardy on the, north side.
Yeah, that's one we wanna go.
You did a good job of fixing it the last time. It
Right.
lasted quite a while.
Yeah, them guys, Muddy got as bad as what it did, and them guys went out and bladed it, and I drove it a few days afterwards, and boy, it turned out nice. Hopefully it'll hold up for a while. Mother Nature and the traffic and does everything that we fix.
the ancient Romans used to complain about washboard roads because the chariots caused them to.
Really?
That's how Romans, seriously, if you read
So
history, it's in there.
Yes.
It's very interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed you took your counter off of Copper Gulch. Did you get the counts off of there?
Yeah, and that was scary.
Yeah,
That's why the road
I'm
gets
curious
cracked up.
because since we've moved up there, I cannot believe how many people use that road.
Yeah, it was tricky just getting it set up. Almost had
sure.
to stop traffic just like to get it set up. There was some
You know,
vehicles.
crossing the road, about got hit, huh?
Yeah, well, it averaged, just under 1,000 vehicles a day.
A day?
A day. That's probably one of the more heavy. I'm gonna set it up.
Well, there's a
on
lot
that.
of people out in there.
Yeah, it funnels a
Services
lot of
a
people
lot
to
of-
town and,
services a lot of
yeah,
areas.
that's one of the more
Yeah,
heavily
even
traveled.
Lake's north side.
Our most heavily traveled road in Graham County when I was back in Kansas was about 200 vehicles a day. This is just under 1,000 out here, so I mean, it's just like, we had far more miles of roads back there to take care of, but it was just as easy as easy. Yeah, we didn't have near the traffic.
What did it show on Herman?
I'm gonna set it up on Hermit. Oh, on Hermit? Last time I did have it set up was about a year and a half ago, and it was, just under 1,000 also.
That's Tom crossing back and forth for lunch.
I know I'm gonna set it up on the Zeta Road just off the highway, because I know the last time I had set it up a couple of years ago, it was just.
That's
right-
pretty heavy too.
Yeah, it was right around 675 vehicles a day, so.
Good.
A lot of traffic.
Good. All right, sir.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, appreciate it. Come back and see us.
We will, or I will.
On your next vacation.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can get him in here.
Kelly, should we go ahead and do VSO?
Hey Gary, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, if you want to.
Looks,
And then I'll
turned
tell
out
Laura
nice.
about
Good.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
Okay, we'll get
Good to
some.
see
You get the signs as soon as you can.
That's great.
Sounds good.
What are you up to?
It's been a busy month.
Uh-oh.
Biggest issues we've been kind of running into, I've had, a lot of issues with Vietnam veterans. I mean, that is our largest population of veterans. But I've had 2 Vietnam veterans that are trying to find a place to live after being evicted, both low income. And then for 2 weeks, I worked a homeless veteran case who broke down coming through Westcliff. Not a Colorado veteran, so there was not a lot that I could do to help him. So that I reached out to the community as far as getting help, and was able to find a place to
Passing
stay.
through, was he on his way somewhere?
He was heading to actually stay with a couple in Florence. The man's been homeless for 3.5 years when his home burned down in Mississippi. He's headed out in his truck, and a veteran from Alaska actually stopped to help him and brought him to my office, and then that proceeded.
And the Florence couple.
The Florence couple,
Follow through?
they didn't follow through, but the problem was, we couldn't fix his truck. I got it to a mechanic, and it was just.
Beyond hope.
It was beyond hope. So, I actually, and I'm gonna get reimbursed from the American Legion, but I bought the truck for the price of a bus ticket to send him home to Mississippi, because he had an offer going for a place to stay and someone to help him buy a truck. So at least he's taken care of.
I thought we might have hired the right guy. Thank you.
Well, somebody said that, that I would care too much. Well, I thought that was part of the job. So
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
I am trying.
So now you got a pickup that doesn't run.
I do, but we'll
You
we'll
junk it
scrap
for
it.
scrap.
Yeah, we'll scrap it for whatever we can, get the parts out that we can, and go from there.
Well, it's nice.
We were truly hoping that we'd get this poor man's truck going, because everything he owned was in that truck. And I took him out to the truck, the day before I was taking him to the bus, and I said,
What do you
"We will
want? Take with you?"
figure out how to get your stuff home." And he walked away with a shopping bag full of stuff and said, "The rest of it, do what you need to with it." And then it broke my heart. I mean, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of Vietnam veterans with some severe health issues, low income. I am getting a lot more people in my door, at least to come and meet me, and that at least starts the interview process of what can I do to help them. A bunch of Vietnam veterans with claims previously denied, especially related to Agent Orange. And I've been working, this morning I was working a Thailand veteran claim that one was a significant one, because he clearly has, pretty much checks off every symptom, and disease from Agent Orange, but they denied it because of the fact that he wasn't a security police or dog handler, so therefore his job description did not show him near the perimeter of the base in Thailand. So I spent hours trying to find pictures and maps and going through the U.S. Army manuals on drift zones for Agent Orange. So it is it's an interesting job. Done 7 home visits, veterans that weren't able to come in and come to the office for whatever reason. So I can tell you, I definitely like my job. It has its challenges on certain days, but the fact that these these veterans are coming in and trusting us to help them. It's definitely worthwhile.
Good.
You have any World War II vets left?
I do actually. I have a 94-year-old Navy veteran that I'm really trying for him to give me some pictures or photographs or evidence, because after interviewing him, he said that no, nothing from his time in service was bothering him, and then he said a few years ago he had cancer, and then in the process of the interview he said he was at Nagasaki 2 weeks after the bomb was dropped. I said, can you please give me
Maybe there's
something?
something there. But he's 94?
He's
Holy
94.
smokes.
He came in for the first time to just sign up for the first time for VA healthcare.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing.
We did have a Korean War veteran. I don't know if anyone knows New Bones Whitaker. He just passed. So we're trying to, just a few days ago, cancer. So we're trying to get his widow squared away as far as whatever they may need. So his son is here, and I think his other son is ill, so they're working on the timeline as far as the services for that. End of this month I will be going to Denver for 4 days for the Colorado Department of Veterans Affairs training conference, so there'll be another certification for me on that.
Good. Okay.
Other than that,
Well, thank you for what you're doing, man. I know you go above and beyond, and we probably don't know much about it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I move that we approve the July 2019 veterans.
I'll second.
We second to approve the July VSO report. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And the last thing I'm thinking about, my sign in front of my office says Resource Center, and it has my fax number on it.
Good Lord.
If I can find somebody to make me a new sign that says Veteran Service Office, would there be any problem with that?
Absolutely not.
Sign this is correct.
And then on the subject of a possible new building, I think that matter is closed because the town of West Cliff decided to put it up for silent bid. And with Dave Reaver as the benefactor on that, we need a price and set price before we can get into it.
$150,000.
Well, I will talk to Eric Foster because he's the one that was taking the lead on that, but
He was the one who said that. He felt that he wasn't gonna be able to raise the money, I'll just tell you that,
Okay.
but that's what it will take to buy it, and that's where the land's worth that.
oh, I have no doubt.
Yeah, the town's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, and I just wasn't, I was trying to kind of stay out of it if somebody else was gonna take the reins on it for me, so.
Well, and I'll move my project up on the calendar again.
Well, I did, the wall is painted.
Yeah,
and,
we managed to get that
I did
done.
put, the rack and stuff back up. We just need to get the trim on
I'll
it.
get it in, trim it out, and then get the other put in, so I'll probably do that.
But it's looking better in there. I got everything cleaned up and usable, so.
Okay. All right,
It's a
sir.
little more, military.
Well, glad you're here.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Word's probably gonna get out, a lot of vets will come in and sell their trucks to them now.
I already have,
Yeah, let's
I
get in
had
line.
5 pickups outside my friend's house.
We'll call for the break. We take a break. By consent, gentlemen, I would request a recess.
That'd be
Do
fine.
you get
Good.
that stuff
3
over
minutes.
there?
No.
So what's the
Stand
story
here.
up there?
Did you know what pause is?
Looked like an inmate.
That's why I was looking at my instructions.
It was a refusal.
I asked this. When we got the
Was
Justice Center
a
license,
refusal.
they go through a special.
No, because we don't own it, we got it's under contract with us, so we don't do title insurance until the title actually switches
I
over.
gotta figure out if that's power line that's in there.
Creepy.
family here.
Yeah. The courthouse family.
Da-da-da-da.
Meeting will come back to order. We will move on with our agenda. Next up is IT.
Good morning.
How are you?
Morning. I'm well, thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi there. Apologize for being late.
No,
You're right on the money.
Okay.
we're good. Thank you. Thanks for waiting for us to take a little break. See, let me get. Went back to June 7th to look up last month's
You got a number to call.
BSO. So let me get on the right page. We're good.
So it's been a little bit of a, not a terribly eventful month, but a very productive month. First up, the biggest thing that happened this month was that I started working with AT&T FirstNet, which is FirstNet is a first responder cell phone service. So AT&T owns a certain amount of bandwidth. They bought bandwidth underneath that from the government, and they opened it up for first responders so that first responders in a crisis situation can never run into all circuits are busy when
Getting
they make
throttled.
a call. Exactly. They can never be throttled down. They can never be, their phone calls take priority. So FirstNet is the system that they've put in place to implement that. I switched over the county to FirstNet. I switched over all the sheriff's deputies, Road and Bridge, OEM, myself, and the coroner, and got a bunch of new phones. All told, by the time I'm done, I'll be saving the county about $5,000 a year, just under $500 a month on cell phone bills. I did actually create a little spreadsheet of the telephone system in the county right now. So that's been a process, but you know, when you get a new phone and it's really exciting, you're going to set up a new phone. Imagine doing that 20 times.
Yeah.
No.
Kind of a drag.
Like that goes away.
About halfway through the first phone, and that was gone.
So you have to retrain people as you went along. too?
Yes, there's quite a bit. So the FirstNet, the phones that we've got are also they can actually be used as walkie-talkie radios, and so that's been quite a process to get all that set up. The other thing that I'm implementing on each of the deputies' phones is a type of panic button where they can push a button and the GPS system will actually send a message to a designated location, dispatch, and that will actually be their GPS location, their GPS coordinates. So the deputies won't have to try and struggle to figure out where they are if they're out on a search and rescue call or anything. They'll just be able to push a button. Their location will be broadcast to dispatch and GPS location right there on record. So
And
it'll be
it's
a pretty-
reliable.
Yes, it is. It's pretty reliable. It goes through the GPS system, which is different than the regular cell phone system. So that's
So it's direct up and down.
exactly. It's a really nice system. I've been experimenting with it. Deputies are all excited. New phones, everybody's happy about new phones. So that's the biggest report for this month. And it's an ongoing process. But I've switched. It says 8 on the report, but actually I've switched over 12 phones now, and I've got about 12 more to go. So fun times.
These are county phones, right?
Yes, these are all county phones. The only people that aren't on the system yet are DHS and Public Health. Once I have some better numbers for them, I'll be meeting with department heads to talk about the process to switch over. But like I said, $5,000 a year works out pretty well. And that all comes out of grounds and maintenance. So the what's that? Oh, okay. The thing that didn't get on this report was I'm going to be talking about in our budget hearings setting aside $5,000 from grounds and maintenance to redo some of the telephone electrical work downstairs in the basement. We've got old equipment that's no one even knows how it works anymore. We've got a quite interesting system down there. It looks very circuitous and whatnot. So we're going to be redoing that next year. So we'll take money from here, put it over there, and we'll be in good location. So
Good.
Great.
yep. There's
Good hire.
oh, thank you. OEM, I'm working with the OEM to set up a micro server over there in the office above search and rescue, as well as setting up the Canon plotter. I moved the old Canon plotter from my office over there to OEM, so we don't have to. What I learned when we were having our spring fire last year was that you would think that ITGIS absolutely needs to be in the EOC, operating and working the map system there, but the reality is that's only about 10% of the work. The other 90% is actually in my office, building maps, making spreadsheets, accessing databases, doing the rest of the work, doing the background work. So moving this plotter to OEM, designating it as an EOC big map maker, essentially, we'll be able to do some of that work there rather than having to run back to the office, print maps, go back to the EOC, go back and forth.
How big a format?
It goes up to 36 inches wide, so it's the same size as the regular plotter in my office. It's just it doesn't have scan capabilities, but it does have the color capabilities. So it can create in all the maps we need in an emergency situation, or just for fire and whatnot. So pushing that off to them, and also freed up space in my office. Excuse me.
Good.
Oh, pardon me. Allergies are killing me here. So that's really about all the interesting things that I've been doing this month. Everything else is just day to day.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for following up on a couple of questions I had. Appreciate that. I know you're busy, but I always appreciate your very quick response time.
Well, thank you.
And we don't have any interconnection with AT&T's tower. You don't have to do anything with that.
No,
It's already been done.
So they were in the basement, but what they were actually doing was testing. It is against the law for them to access that junction point and run their tower. They have to have their own designated junction point. And so that's why they ran a cable up from the street up to the tower location. So we don't actually have anything to do with it.
Okay, good.
Hey Vernon,
Yes,
your day-to-day stuff, everybody's happy at the airport with
So the airport,
the okay.
their entire system was taken out by a lightning strike last
Yeah.
week. I've replaced 3 pieces of equipment yesterday and found one more that has to be replaced. I'm going to replace that today right after I'm done here. So that's...
That lightning was popping around.
It was
out
pretty
there.
brutal.
It was terrible.
definitely brutal.
All right, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And you'll be over there just monitoring so you come out with
Yes, ma'am.
stuff.
We will move on to
The queen of health.
I'm no queen of anything, let me tell you.
Well, welcome anyway.
Good morning,
Good
Clint.
morning, good to see
So
you.
good to see you. And see you.
Gosh, that's pretty
You too.
Pretty, your worries about.
pretty enthusiastic.
Oh, it's
Proud of you for this.
Been
She's
nice.
seen me overlooked so many times.
I know, I didn't wanna do that to you anymore. I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, I don't either. We didn't, I got the dashboard thing, but that was it, correct?
Oh, I emailed them.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
You don't, all right.
So-
We have a little problem with
Yeah, I
Hold
emailed.
on just a second.
I emailed them to Meredith, but I don't know if Meredith got an email to you.
When did you send them?
Oh, not last week.
She may have.
so.
I think she did.
I wonder if she didn't get them, because usually she sends them to all of us, and I didn't
Yeah,
get
I
that,
didn't
those
get
ones
them
either.
I wasn't, yeah. Okay.
I think she's been having trouble with
We'll,
it.
we'll listen.
Yeah.
Well, and I can make copies and give it to you later if you want that.
No, I think if you can, if there's some questions as we go along, if you can help us. we'll be
Oh,
fine.
okay, well, yeah, but it's kinda hard if you don't have something.
True. Well, we just look at last month's
Look
and,
at you.
You want me to?
Yeah.
I was just like, well, I don't care if you wanna make copies and
well-
no,
or we can postpone till tomorrow with your choice. Doesn't matter to me.
I don't care. I mean, I can talk to,
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that much difference going on,
I'm fine with listening. That's up to you
but
guys.
I have no problem giving these to you later on, because like on the graphs and stuff, you can look at those and see what's going on.
I think that'd be fine.
Okay, yeah, cause I can do that, yeah, cause that just shows you what we did this month, so, nothing major going on. Energy outreach, I'll be going to meetings sometime soon because the new grant will start in October, but,
You know what, maybe if you don't mind, if we could get copies made real quick,
Yeah, I
and
can
then
do
while
that.
she's doing that, I'd like to bring up another topic of conversation
Okay.
with you, that maybe will fill in a little bit.
okay.
And that is this proposed security wall. Commissioner Prince, Commissioner Canada had questions about that.
Yes.
Last
And I
meeting,
was
so,
gonna- yes.
yeah, so maybe we can talk about that now while she's
Yeah,
making comments.
that's what I was gonna say, I was gonna just go ahead and tell you some of the other stuff
Okay.
that we have going on.
Well,
But
that
that one,
makes
yeah,
sense.
because we talked, last meeting, we talked about how CTSI was not liking how we're set up in there because and we have people just walking back, just
Right.
constantly walking back. So, yeah, we've kinda got it, we looked at different options, of what we can do, but we're gonna build a wall, well, it's not really a wall, but a glass across their door so that we can get in, and we're gonna move Rhonda's counter back so that we can have it, because that window is there, and that's causing us a little bit of problem. We're gonna be real cramped back where we're at,
That's what I was worried
but we're gonna have more room out front where we can actually have people sit down, we're gonna get a little table where people can actually sit down and fill out an application instead of doing it on the front counter, or Rhonda's trying to work. So that's gonna be better, we wanna have the buzzer if we can for the door, so that she can just buzz people in, so she doesn't have to get up and down all the time.
about. So there's gonna be a badged in kind of thing that so people can walk
Keypad.
back and forth, or does she always have to beam everybody that works back there in?
She would have to beep everybody that's back in there.
How do you get in initially?
We'll put a keypad on
Yeah, or,
That's what-
yeah.
I'm wondering what kind of a lock it was.
Yeah.
Not a badge reader.
Yeah, yeah,
it. It'll be keypad just like the courts.
oh, okay,
A bid on that.
yeah, and so, yeah, that's what we wanna do with it.
So each person would have the code, and they can get in there if they
Uh-huh.
want to, but meanwhile, she can beam everybody.
Everybody else in the, she would hit the button and then, and they can come back. Just yesterday, Rhonda was gone and I'm back there and this person just, and that doesn't even stop at the front counter, just wanders on back, and it's just like, give me a second, give me a
This is
second.
long overdue.
Give me a second to get out of my chair, but no, they just come on back,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to walk in and barge in on you.
No, not you.
Okay.
But no, it wasn't, you weren't in there yesterday, but it's other people, they just, this guy came in one day and he goes, oh, I wanna talk to Kayla, and then he just zips back, and it's just like, we just need to get that stopped, and just some security stuff going on, some confidentiality stuff, we really need this done. And so,
You might have an irate person who got turned down for something,
Oh.
that's what concerns me
well,
also.
all the time, yeah, because they just walk on through there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and we have a lot of irate people, so that's what we're working on. And Tom did some measurements for the glass and stuff, but, Brad Huff came in one day because the lightning strike was out in the courthouse. It's weird. If the lightning struck and took out anything in the scale house, where the scales are, but where the commodities are, nothing. But they have a GSI out there, and it'll flip that sometime. But we forgot about that, cause it's been probably 10 years since that happened again. So.
Well, it worked.
It flipped the breaker, which is on the commodity side. But so we put the breaker back on, but it still didn't turn it on. So anyhow, Brad came by, but anyhow, And then we talked to him about, there's an outlet that comes up from under the floor, so that's gonna have to be moved. Lights are gonna have to be moved, and he said that wasn't a big deal. So that's good, so, he just said, give him a little bit of time, but we told him we didn't care, he was gonna do it, and we said, no worries.
Yeah, that's how the family touch of, human resources.
No, I don't know. So that's where we are with that, just hoping to get that done as soon as possible.
Gentlemen, do you wanna see a scope of work prior to posting that? We'll have to probably put that out for bids.
I don't think I need to, I think I have a visual picture.
Yeah, we can
what
come
you
in
need.
and I can just kind of give you a rough idea.
I don't wanna slow it down by going through that, I think we could put it out,
I'm good.
let's get this up before there's a tragedy back there.
Okay,
I think we can get the electrical work done on a separate, no bid process, and then
as
I'll
Brad
write
said,
scope
that
of
would
work
just.
and see if it's over 5,000, we'll put it out. It's under that.
No,
It'll
because,
be,
I'm very comfortable.
682. Let's get a pool, $682. That's what I think.
Oh, I think
What
that's-
are you gonna bet?
I'll put 1,000 into the pool. Okay, cause I know the window's 640.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
you do all
I
that?
was gonna
Okay.
say the window's
Let me-
gonna
yeah,
be
wait a
more
minute.
than
Well, I
that.
know, I was doing the electric.
Oh, the electric,
yeah.
oh,
It
the
was the
electric,
electric.
oh, the electric,
The electric is only gonna be $682.
Probably, because he said moving that thing would be nothing, and the lights would be nothing, so, I
I'll be
don't,
surprised.
yeah.
Well, I'll get an estimate, but I think it's gonna be over $5,000. and-
But then I'll buy you a cup of coffee if you, whoever's closest. Let me buy the donuts.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I'll move ahead with that, we'll get the
Okay.
scope of work put together and
okay,
go from there. And I
Alright.
think we'll put, if it goes out to bid, we'll do sealed bids, and the work has to be done within 30 days of opening a bid, we can't drag this thing out.
yeah,
So,
yeah, we looked at how we should do it, what we thought may work best, what's gonna, and we just don't have a lot of options anyhow, so.
So how are you gonna cool it? Is it gonna help? I mean, nothing. How do you cool the waiting area?
And there's
Is there a vent?
a vent on that
Is there?
side, yeah, cause I'm thinking, yeah, cause the vent's by the window, and the window's gonna be on their side, and then we have vents on our back side, so we should be okay. That should work fine.
alright, well Kelly, thank you for making coffee.
Thank you, Kel, look at that, you're doing something good for us.
I know.
She is the clerk.
Keep her
She
away.
knows how to run those machines.
Yeah, and then okay, so I don't know,
Is there more to this visit?
oh yeah, September 12th at noon. There's a thing called, that they're doing the, you know, Sandra,
Twice they've been zipping by us.
Easy to do.
yeah. So, but with child welfare, they're doing something called Families First. Usually if we have to place a kid, we'll find a foster home, or some of them have to be in a institutional type setting. At some type of a facility that's a little bit warmed up for kids that we have problems with. So they're trying to make sure that we always look at families, what they call families first, friends, this type of stuff, before, with placing kids. So anyhow, we have a gal coming from the state on September 12th, and we're trying to set up a meeting with us, with all of our attorneys, the judges, and everybody else on that day, and we're gonna do it at noon because they should have court that day. So the judges will be here, a lot of the attorneys are gonna be here, and we're gonna do it that day. So, but we will go ahead and to see if you guys wanna be involved in it, we're gonna send out a little invitation type thing to make sure of date and time and all that stuff,
I
okay?
very
Thank
much
you.
would like to attend.
But it would just tell you a little bit about what the changes are gonna be and that type of stuff, okay? So I wanted to mention that now, and okay? And then we are getting ready to bring up, transformation on our client benefit management system, the one we use to do all of our programs that determine eligibility, food assistance, medical, and any financial. So that, they've been working on that, and thank you that they thought that it wasn't ready, so they postponed it, which was really nice, because when I first brought that up, they didn't do that. But, they're hoping to do this on August 26th, they're gonna bring that up again, so we may have some problems anytime with a new system that doesn't work correctly, and there's a learning mode, so if you hear people complaining that it took longer or something, just wanted to give you a heads up about that, okay? We're gonna have a gal come in on that day, and she's gonna, help us walk us through it and make sure that we're understanding it, and that kind of stuff.
Good.
So we got that going on. Then, this stage is, well, it's not a stage, okay. There's anybody that's on food assistance, and it's a very interesting little thing. If you're single and you don't have kids, and you're single and you're under the age of 50 and you're not working a certain amount of hours, they want you to do what's called employment first. We have never done this program because we've never had the numbers. We've always met the guidelines as to being an exempt county. Last year, they took us out of the exempt county and they had the state run the program. Well, the feds didn't like some of the things that were going on or don't think our numbers are good enough. So now people that were counties that were exempt or doing this, now they're telling us we have to run this program. Problem is they're not giving us any money. It's an unfunded mandate, which we all just hate.
Just going through that with the sheriff's department.
Hey, when they
Same
do
thing.
that, we told them, you told us we didn't have to do this, and now you're done. There are still a few counties that
So
are.
do we meet the numbers, really?
Yeah, and there are a few counties that are exempt, and I get some of them. Canales County, Custer County, Saguache County, because it's based on your unemployment rate. So, Warfano County, Fremont, seriously?
Is exempt.
Fremont, yeah,
And we're not.
and we're not.
We have a higher employment rate,
Yes.
people that are employed in Fremont,
Yes.
percentage-wise.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, that's what.
Maybe they're including all the prison
I don't know what they're including. One of them was like Hinsdale County, it's a small county, I get that, But anyhow, so we had to put a plan together, and one of the options on the plan was that we had the state run it, and which they did last year, which was fine. We don't have that many anyhow, but they're saying they're not sure the state's gonna do that. So anyhow, we may have to come up with some way to run this program, and I'll probably have Kayla do it. She's already working with TANF people to help them, and so I'll probably just have to include that with her. But yeah, it's just if you want us to run the program, you have to give us money to do it. That's all there is to it. So that's my deal on that. So we'll see what happens. I think it's not coming up until 2020. So we had to submit plans saying what we were gonna do. So we'll see what they're gonna do with it.
We need additional personnel to do this, or just?
Well, I'm hoping I can just have Kayla do it. She's already doing the TANF sign up. First of all, I don't have room to put an additional person on.
Understand.
Yeah, so, and they're not giving us money to do it. So, what they said was 50% of the salary, they would pay 50% to the county. And then they gave me some money for supportive services of $853 for the year.
A year?
For the year. Yeah, we're all just going, this is ridiculous. But anyhow, so we'll see what happens with that. So now Kelly's done her magic. Oh, what page are you, did you schedule them in order, Kelly?
I did.
Okay.
She is the clerk.
Yep. But it,
I can't.
Way to go, Kelly. Alright. So, and at the bottom where the TANF and the daycare look funny like that, that's because we have to pay our maintenance of effort, and then everything else we don't pay, so that's why that's at 100%. But everything else we're okay on that page. And then our old age pension. And yeah, it looks weird because we have more payments, but same amount of payments, but more dollars, and that's because we switched from one category to another where we're paying more. That's just depending on the age of the person. And then leave, we don't have anything now because we're not doing leave. Rhonda goes to leave training in September because it will start again in October, well, actually, in November, actually. And then our Medicaid transportation was up a little bit, we have more payments, but was higher than it was last month. People from their plans. And then CSBG, we're still okay on that, I got some money, so we're perfect on that. And then EOC Outreach Colorado, I'm gonna do new grants coming up, and I still have a little bit of money left in that one, so we're okay on that. And then our food benefits, as you can see, they went down a little bit in June because people, it's nice, people are working more, and we always see a decline in that, which is good. Cause we've definitely been seeing an increase in our food benefits. We've been seeing more people move in, although I don't know where they live.
Copper Gulch.
You don't keep a record of that, they don't report where they live or where they.
Oh, no, they do, I always just, it just fascinates me, but yes, I mean, you know, cause we have, housing is such an issue here.
Mhm.
Section 8 housing, in Fremont County, they handle it, they handle that for us. They have opened up some slots starting August 15th, so that's good. The problem with that sometimes is if you don't have housing, they can't approve the slots.
Well, sure, yeah, and where are they gonna go for section 8 housing in Custer County?
Yeah, see, and what they do with that, you find a house or whatever, and even an apartment, and then they come up and approve it for the section 8. But sometimes we have a hard time finding housing, period, so we'll see. But anyhow, they did do that, so that's good, because there for a while we've been on a freeze, and so there was none available. Oh, and then our TFAB. We haven't been getting a whole lot of food from TFAB. I don't know if it's a time of year, probably, maybe it'll increase, but we haven't been getting a lot of food on TFAB. So, that's that. And keep those and read them tonight, okay? When you got nothing else.
We will.
Again, read them
I know,
again.
Bill.
Oh, wait, we
Can't
just
build a
got-
fire with it, it's not cold enough.
Yeah, that's, well, you could go outside, build a little campfire or something. Okay, that's all I have.
Very good, thank you,
Okay.
ma'am, appreciate that.
You guys,
Nice to see you.
and nice to see you, and yeah, Vernon was talking about the phone system, he was supposed to get with me about that,
Yeah.
because if that's gonna save us money, we're
Yeah.
all over that,
Yeah,
so.
all right,
Okay,
thank
guys,
you.
thanks, see you later.
And gentlemen, I would move that we amend the agenda to add extension for our report. She could provide us a report, but we failed to get it on the agenda.
I think I'm on for tomorrow, so if you guys want me
Okay.
to come back tomorrow, that's fine too.
Are you here just to
I
get
just
prep
wanna check
for the
the
meeting
agenda.
tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I
So be
didn't
back
look at
upstairs.
tomorrow's agenda, so, we can do that tomorrow.
Okay,
Will it be inconvenient for you to do it tomorrow?
No.
I mean, you don't have a place to be or
no,
something?
no, but thank you for asking.
Okay, cause I like to read it ahead of time and I have not read yours.
Okay, that's fine, okay,
Good,
thanks.
thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, thank you.
So motion is withdrawn. We'll move on then to unfinished business, if we have any. I do not.
No, sir.
Commissioner Kenda?
No.
We'll move on to new business. We'll allow public comment on any action items before voting. First item of business. Morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
Discussion of the clinic board meeting. I just thought we may want to have an opportunity at least to discuss what occurred yesterday with our so-called board-to-board meeting. I was discouraged that it really wasn't that, but I think actually part of that's probably my fault.
Well, I think that's a dialogue between us and the boards,
Well,
you know, except for some interruptions.
there you go. When they asked me how to set the room up, I said, well, just set us up in a rectangle. And then they asked me how many people, and I said, well, we're probably looking at 25 people. Well, I didn't really mean 25 people to sit at the rectangle. We could have had
Some
10 chairs at the rectangle and the rest were audience.
That would be easy.
That would have probably helped a little.
Yeah, it would.
So I'll take responsibility for that. But I truly did expect, based on their conversation with me at their last board of directors meeting, that they wanted a board-to-board meeting. And so that's what I expected, but I get it. You know, their executive director does the lion's share of the stuff over there, and I truly believe that board of directors probably don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on, so.
No, but it was good they were there and they heard and they learned.
Yeah,
I'm, you know, like I said before, I don't wanna keep reinventing the wheel. Next step has to be decisions.
I thought yesterday was gonna be decision day.
oh, did you?
Yeah, cause that was the fourth time we've heard exactly the same thing. Their stance has not changed at all, and neither have ours. And we just keep rehashing while the
We
clock
just gotta
ticks
say, here's
towards
where
their
we're going.
arbitrary and capricious deadline that they invented.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was not there. I didn't expect anything to come out of that other than meeting and talking with the board of directors, which, believe me, it's the first time that's occurred, right?
Right.
We've had their EMS manager here, and we've had their executive director here, and then I've gone to their board meetings, but that was it. So really, we weren't gonna make any decisions in a workshop anyway, but, I thought the conversation went about like I expected it. We were just gonna have to talk about it and lay our thing out there. 'Cause I don't think we can count on the executive
no.
director carrying the message.
No, I'm still concerned that they have this artificial deadline of the 5th of September, bunch of nonsense.
You made that very clear, Commissioner, and I absolutely agree with you. This is an arbitrary deadline. This sword of Damocles is hanging over our heads. Really not our heads, our heads, but Whitmore and that surrounding area.
And
This is horrible.
so I think our next step is to push hard on that agreement.
But then, as legal counsel appropriately said, it's gonna have to be very, very clear, because they're gonna go, we have to roll, we'll roll, but I gotta finish my lunch first, or something like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it has to be here.
The
We
professionalism
will
is
respond
not
with
there.
a first response team if it's available.
This is what kills me. I
They'll do
truly,
it
in my heart,
anywhere
feel
else.
that they lack the professionalism to handle that job appropriately. That it's all personality, it's ego, and I am darn tired. I almost used a different word, darn tired of it. I am, and I'm happy to say it on the camera, because that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think Attorney Smith and I talked about it. There's a document that says if they wanted to make any changes, they have to submit that to us in writing 30 days prior to. This was a 90-day notification. So, I don't like it. I don't think it's right, but I think they did what the letter of the law calls for as far as the documents that I've seen. Just tell us at least 30 days in advance that they're gonna do something different.
But,
Comments or,
yeah, but they need to go through the whole process of amending the service
Right.
plan, not just saying, well, we're
Right.
gonna change it, and here's, cause even if you sign off on it, it still has to go to the judge.
Right.
And we would have had to have done that. They have not given us that opportunity. And so therefore, they are operating under what already stands on record.
Right.
true, yeah, notification had to be.
They can say they're gonna
30
quit on the 5th, that doesn't hold water.
No, it's not your obligation to say yes or no. I mean, they're not asking to amend the service plan. This is basically what
Right.
this is what
Right.
we're gonna do.
Yes, ma'am.
What changes on the 5th? Cause they're not rolling now.
That's well, that's.
They claim they were.
Well, I don't think anything changes on the 5th.
Okay, I just
really.
was confused because
As it turned out, I think when they wrote us that letter, they fully intended to quit running first call down there. But they've already done that by a spoken agreement amongst the board and the director and the manager.
So they're breaking the law, Mike.
No, they're not honoring the agreement, they're
That's
breaching
the
the contract.
That's a breach of contract.
and I have another question. Can they amend their service agreement any way and any time they want with no voter approval, or how does that work?
Well, they can bring their proposal to their service plan to the commissioners. It's gotta come to the commissioners.
That's right.
And you can say no?
Correct, sir?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way the document's written.
And then ultimately, am I correct that a judge has to ratify it?
Right. But just saying, if you say no, that they can still go to the judge
Right.
and ask the judge to approve it, but it should come to you first. You
Yeah.
approve it by a resolution, or don't approve it.
Right, and the
Or-
service plan amendment did not go to a vote, no. It came to the commissioners, and the judge ratified the resolution, basically, I guess.
Well, and there wasn't a resolution in 2015. They asked in 2014, and when the commissioners didn't take any action on it.
Right, they assumed.
Then they took the position, well, by default now it can go into effect, and they went to the court and got the judge's approval.
And I tried to get my hands on that document last night to show those 3 amended bullets, and I just,
I got
I
it
was
if you wanna
seeing
get a
stars,
copy.
I was wound up, so. But I know that it had to do with dropping care for the school, changing the, thank you.
You wanna get a copy for me?
I've got it,
Sure.
I'm sure, if you gentlemen will.
So, what do you guys think is our next step that we thought we agreed to in that meeting?
Well, clearly, we need to schedule a meeting down in Wetmore. I spoke to a couple of Wetmore residents this morning, trying to get the word out that that's what's gonna have to
And
happen.
in that meeting, our expectation is we probably present, here's our position, might be, what are we gonna do?
Here's my issue with that. They have nothing to tell the people in Wetmore, because I don't have any answers. We could say, well, they suggested maybe you pay a fee for
Yeah.
ambulance service.
That's what I mean, I don't
until
wanna
you-
do that.
Hang on a second, till you approve a mill levy increase or something and it become part of the, we don't have anything to tell, what are we gonna tell them?
The thing that I think we have is, they are gonna roll on first call to that county, because they're within the county, it's in that agreement, they were gonna be outside their what they
Hang
think
on.
is their district.
Hang on, I agree with what you're saying in a legal, moralistic sense, but in reality, they are not, they told us they are not.
Then we say, what is the recourse, it's an injunction or whatever you call
Okay,
it.
but let's go back to the crux of the question that was originally asked, the meeting in Wetmore. What more are we gonna tell those folks that we could bring no more information to them than we did the first meeting?
Right, which would be, that exactly, but we also know that we're gonna present a ballot issue to them at 2020. We can make that real, that's gonna be real, and we're gonna do some analysis before then to figure out what would be on that ballot. Whether it's 8 mills or whatever it might be as a program, but we have to have some meetings in front of us to go do that over the next few months.
I need to ask a clarifying question, I hate to be ignorant, but the 7.9 mil, that is for the hospital,
And
the clinic and the ambulance. I was under the impression that the people in District 2 down in Wetmore were paying the mill for the clinic, but not for the ambulance. Is that correct or am I incorrect?
that's not right, they're not paying.
Incorrect, okay, they're not paying anything.
Right.
No.
Okay, then the full amount is the appropriate number,
Right.
in my opinion.
Or whatever the revised
Well,
new amount is.
Let me weigh in on that
Please
statement,
do,
number
please do.
one. I don't think 7.908 is the appropriate number, because I believe the people in Wetmore are gonna say, we don't want any part of your clinic. You're not gonna come get us, haul us up to the clinic, and haul us back to a hospital somewhere for a level of care. So why would anybody from Wetmore come up here to the clinic?
For the same reason I pay school taxes, for the exact same reason I pay school taxes.
Mhm.
I don't have a child in school, I've never had a child in school, I never had one. But I gladly pay school taxes because it's for the betterment of this county. We pitch in, and that's the same reason they should pay the clinic fee.
Well, and that's my position too. It's a county ballot, it's not a Wetmore ballot. That the new revised
We don't
numbers
get to
have to
pick and
include
choose.
the actual population of the whole county. What is it gonna cost to provide EMS to the whole county? And
I agree.
and they all are gonna vote, it's
They
not
are
gonna be a
support
vote
the
for
clinic whether
Wetmore.
they use it or not, I support the school whether I use it or not. Because you're in part of this county, you want county services, you support the county's services. That's my position on that, and I'm gonna have a
They
hard
don't
time
have to take
taking
it, they don't
that.
have to take it.
Well, they're not gonna agree with you, I can tell you that.
Well,
But they'll be
the
outvoted
answer may
with the
be-
county
The
ballot.
answer may end up being, I'm really sorry, but it all goes together. And if you can't do one, we can't do the other, and
They don't have to take the ride.
And we need some legal counsel here, because number one, we don't have a darn thing to say about the ballot.
Right.
That's gotta come from the hospital district.
Correct.
That's right.
So if the hospital district decides to put a initiative on the ballot for the entire county, that'd make sense to me.
It does to me because, Tom, from what I got yesterday, they don't have enough money to operate it as it is. If they're arguing over $150 ride, you know, and with their total budget, this population, this county has increased since they set it up. And it's gonna be going to the voters sooner or later.
I think your point's really well taken, because 5 rides on average at $150 to $750, I guarantee you, don't guarantee anything, I strongly suspect there are people down in Wetmore, one person in particular I know would probably say, you know what, if that's what's gonna make peace in this area, I will pay $750 myself a month just to make this happen. I know a fellow who'd do that.
Okay, but let me follow up on this point. So your premise is basically that you think the hospital district either will or should go to a countywide vote to increase the mill levy.
Or decrease it, I don't know. They need to do, we need the dollar, we need the amount, we need to understand the people, the amount it takes to run a true system. They would have done it in the first place if Florence hadn't been in the middle of this and left, you know, gave them the option to not include it in their district. Kit was right, that map's really just how quick I can respond on that, it's not really.
Well, that's,
Yeah, but regardless, it's
That
about
map
the
was
taxpayer, that's right, that's the
He said it
taxpayers,
wasn't.
Of the county. It should be a countywide district.
The hospital district can't go to the voters and ask for money outside the district, they would have to amend
They
the
gotta
service
amend the
plan
district.
first to expand it to the entire
Right.
county, then they can go and ask for the
Right,
money from
that's
the
exactly
entire
right.
county.
Good point. Thank you.
yeah,
That's
I
what I
don't
think
see
that's
them
meant.
going back to the entire county to ask for a mill levy increase. I mean, they just did it in 2015. I could see them saying,
The whole county.
putting a ballot, yeah, for the whole county. I just don't see that. I
And
can
that's
see
okay.
them
I'm just-
asking
But what is it?
anybody outside of the hospital district to vote a mill levy increase to bring them into the district. I could see that. I could be wrong. I just don't think they're gonna go back to these voters and want another 1 or 2 mills on top of the 7.9 they're already
No, I'm not
getting.
suggesting that either, if they could, if they wanted to, they're
Uh.
not gonna take the risk. But it has to be a countywide district, I believe. 'Cause that's what it was before, only Florence was filling in for the other part of it, period.
And I philosophically, Commissioner Cantor, agree with you 100%. I really do. I think it should be a countywide thing. I do not believe you're gonna get the hospital district to concur with that. They might agree to put a ballot on to try to annex that into their district. I think that's where it's really gotta start. Because they can't do anything else unless they are in the district, correct?
Right.
Really?
And that doesn't have to be a ballot issue, that just has to be, you know,
A decision.
yeah, for the
Amend the
service
service
plan,
plan.
coming to you, asking for your approval of that, and then getting the judge to approve it to expand the boundaries of the
Sure.
district.
And then they're gonna wanna pay for that. So it will probably go to a ballot eventually, right?
Well, it'll go to a
They're not
ballot
gonna do
then
it for
to
free.
For
increase,
2020, to increase the county population.
yeah, but not the service plan part of
No.
it.
No.
That's- But then you have to get more money, then it has to go to all the voters.
Go ahead, man.
I just wanted to interject that where Mr. Weisenbach got $150 is beyond me.
Oh, you pulled it out of the air. He
Because,
said, I'll just take a
well,
stab
but an
at it.
ambulance ride costs $2,000. I mean, I don't know what it costs now, but when we were running, we raised it from 300 to 1,000, and that was 15 years ago.
Well, your point's very well taken, but here's the stance I took with them, and I brought it up to them. It's based upon as if this unincorporated area paid their 3 mil, what would that raise? How many ambulance calls do you have a month? Do the math on that and come out with how much that is on average to pay for it. So whatever that number comes out to be, that's an easy number to come up with. In fact, I should have played with it last night and said it's $250 or $150, whatever the number is. That's what it ought to be in my mind.
Of course,
That's a
that's-
definitive number.
The problem is, that those of us living up here both pay taxes and pay $1,000, $2,000 for an ambulance, right? So
Same
having,
thing.
if they get the same service we do,
Yep.
they aren't paying taxes and it costs them $150, again, I want out of the district.
Right,
We'll all sign up for
exactly
that.
right.
Right.
Stay point.
Yeah, and I just, and I made the point last night, I don't think really anybody heard it, but I don't think that hospital district can go to the citizens of Wetmore and want one dime more on a mill levy basis than what their hospital district people are paying. I think that's got discrimination written all
You
over
can't
it.
do that.
I think Mrs. Flower had a great point. There are places within the hospital district whose response time is a hell of a lot longer than going to Wetmore.
Right.
So that's why I agree. The time to respond has no part of this conversation. It's just ludicrous.
I agree.
Completely agree.
So, I just think that the hospital district, and what I would like to do is to convene that meeting in Wetmore and turn it over to the hospital district and let them have a conversation with those people in Wetmore. Because it is, by God, their job to do that. It's not our job, in my opinion.
I think
Let
they're
them
gonna,
explain.
I think they're gonna feel differently, and here's why.
Oh, I agree.
Because they're gonna say, you're not in our hospital district, I have nothing to say to you. I mean, why should I even
And
talk to
they
you?
very
You're not
well,
in my
your
district.
point is well taken there. They may take that slant, and if that's the case, then I think it's incumbent upon us then
Well,
to
the other, I agree, but
mediate that.
just the point that Butch Washington raised, you know, you're gonna take if you can speak, can you tell me you're in the district or not paying your taxes before I pick you up? That's nonsense.
No.
It's
So,
ridiculous.
so that's why it's incumbent upon them to deal with Custer County.
This whole
So
thing-
we either push the district to annex Wetmore in, or push them to put something on the ballot
And maybe pushing
to
is
tax those
a
residents.
rough, tough word because of personalities.
Well, we sure as hell can't
My
ask. We've
point
already
is-
done
my
that.
point is,
I'm
it would
still-
behoove them, because I would hate to be them the minute they don't respond
Okay,
and
so
somebody dies.
I'm gonna change this subject slightly, if I may, please. We're talking about ambulance service. They've told us that they really have no interest in serving people outside. I am very concerned that we've put the fox guarding the hen house. And we have the executive director of the clinic who has told us in no uncertain terms, this is their baby, this is their ambulance. It's written all over, although the word never came out of her mouth, that I am not interested in giving up my ambulance service to anybody. Put her in charge of the conversations with AMR to determine, is this a better fit for the county? Will it serve our constituency better? And that's the key to this whole thing. So I have a real concern, and I've kind of whispered this to Tom during the meeting yesterday, that we need to be having that conversation. And I brought up one person needs to, not the BOCC and the clinic separately. Custer County needs to discuss with. She is not the right person to be doing this. In my opinion, we need to cut her off from that, and we need to take over those negotiations. That's my opinion, because we're looking at what's best for the county. And I think you, Bill, brought up, or Tom, one of you two brought up, they have better staffing on their ambulance. Not that we don't have excellent people, because we do, but they have the qualifications of the people they put in their ambulances. They're certified higher than the ones that we have. That is a benefit to the county right off the bat. I want the best person there. If I'm suffering with terrible heart pain, I want more of someone certified. So,
And they would certify them to be here. I mean, that would happen.
right. The only issue I hung my hat on and listened to was their current EMTs working for the hospital ambulance service have voiced the concern that they don't wanna go to a big company. You know, and I voiced, and I verbally said, I'm sorry, you make your choice whether you wanna do this or not. What about the employees of the clinic right now when they go to Heart of the Rockies, they go into a big company?
And we made that point yesterday, and the
So-
point was, we got big companies with
Right.
local people working here already. What's the
Let me
big
tell you,
deal?
I just feel Ms. Drew is not correct person to be dealing with AMR. I think we need to take that over. We need to exert our authority there, and we need to handle that. That is my opinion, and I'm gonna stick to that until, you know what, freezes over.
Well, I would assume that either today or tomorrow, we should get, because they sat right there and agreed that they would provide us a report on her meeting with AMR today. Now, if we don't get it today, I'll request that tomorrow.
That's my opinion. I mean, and I'm not forcing my opinion on you, I'm just telling you why I feel the way I do.
And I certainly am going to hold off forming my opinion, although I'm leaning towards your particular stance here, until we see what she reports from her meeting.
And that's fine.
I'm with you. I think there are other people, or number one, I think it should be more than one person dealing with AMR in talking about a negotiation of a contract.
Absolutely.
But we'll see I will wait and see what she reports from her meeting today. I want to defer to these two gentlemen real quick. Any comments about what you saw last night at that meeting? And of course, you know we're live streamed, being recorded. If you choose not to, it's your choice. Mr. Mike, anything?
Well, I don't think anything was really accomplished. We're kind of back at square one. I think, my impression was, I just got a better understanding of the hospital district's board and their position. And I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I said this yesterday, I did think there was a couple things accomplished. Number one, that their board sat down with us face to face and we didn't, and they had to interact with us, not
And I
their
agree.
executive
I agree
director.
with
So
that
I thought that
completely.
was a huge step.
That's a step, absolutely.
And I thought we got a commitment for her to report back to us from her conversation with AML. I guarantee that wouldn't happen had we not had that meeting yesterday, in my opinion. So I thought that was a win. But I certainly, you take that out of the mix, then I agree with you 100%.
Well, my biggest concern is emergency response to people that need it, regardless of where they're from. What about the non-residents? Most of the emergency calls that happen east of McKenzie Junction are travelers on 96. We don't ask them where they're from, if they're residents. Flight for Life doesn't say, well, they don't live in the state, we're not coming. If somebody's needing help, we have a responsibility to help them. And if you're not gonna do that, you shouldn't be in a first responder line of work.
And I think
Well said.
we have tried to drive that point, but it gets deflected pretty darn quick.
So let me say this then about that, because I agree. I think our next step ought to be to force the issue that they have to respond, period. The injunction, whatever you want to call it, on that piece of the document we have, it should be enforced, and they ought to understand that that's what we're going to operate by in the near term. And get rid of the question of whether they'll send an ambulance out on a first call with not a second crew to back it up, period.
And that's exactly where they're gonna go. They're gonna go, oh, we'll definitely respond. What do you, of course we care about all these people. We'll go. I said, we'll go no matter what. As long as somebody answers the phone and says, I'm on my way in.
No,
Which is
no,
not-
that's
I
not
get
the
it,
point,
I get it.
because
This
they
is
don't
what
do
they're
that in
gonna
district
respond.
today.
I
And
get it,
and
but
so,
that's
and
what
they
they're
don't,
gonna
they'll
respond
not,
to.
they'll do that with a new agency agreement. So I say,
So-
force the hand on the agreement we know is the only document we have that's real.
Chairman Flower was 100% correct when they would go, well, that's our policy. And he stood there and said at least 3 times, I heard him say, I don't agree with your
That's right.
policy.
It's their
And we both chimed in and said, correct, we
Right,
do not
and-
agree. But that's the issue.
So
They have a policy.
Well, I
we
don't care about
agree
their
with.
policies, Jay. We know what legally we believe the agreement is. Force them to show us otherwise. In the meantime, they have to respond like they are in district, period. Or
So-
within the interagency agreements.
If you are committed to that idea,
That's
then
my
then the next step would be to instruct council to pursue getting an
Yes.
injunction based on the document of January 3rd, 1989, and have a judge decide whether or not they're
And we
going to
don't have,
provide
yeah,
first call service
yeah.
to Wetmore, not second call, because
Right.
that's what they're doing now.
That's what they're
It's gotta
doing.
be first call. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just gonna comment that, so I've sat in on most of the meetings now that have been had about this, and I think what's concerning is first off, and the question was posed yesterday, and I still don't, at least I don't know an answer, and that is, ultimately, who is really responsible for the service? Whether it be to someone across the street from the ambulance barn, in Wetmore, in Centennial, who's really responsible for emergency response? Is it the commissioners? Is it the hospital district, you know, as a direct oversight of EMS? That question, I mean, I think that question's still out there in the looms, and until that question is answered, I really think you're beating your head on the wall, because we've known this issue is coming since when now? We got that letter from Florence back in
June or May 26th.
May, I was gonna say May, but, so now we're in August, and there's been very little progress made. Now, lots of discussions, and there are a lot of moving parts, so there has to be a lot of discussion, but that is exacerbated by the point if you really only have one person that's in those negotiations, because there are so many moving parts that it's difficult for one person to go through all of that and do the rest of their job as well. So that's a daunting task for anyone. So that's a challenge.
First part, who's responsible? Legal counsel has told us, and please Glenn jump in if I'm mislabeling this, that in legal counsel's opinion, the county commissioners are responsible for providing ambulance service. We have afforded the clinic to do that. We have the right to take that away from them again and control it ourselves. And is that basically correct?
Well, to take it back, we'd have to show a breach of contract agreement. That statute that you read yesterday, Tom, said that the county has the authority to provide ambulance service by various means, and one of them is by contracting for it. The county chose to contract for ambulance service. We can't just say, oh, we're gonna take it back. We'd have to show that there's been a breach of contract or a mutual agreement to set aside that original agreement. I mean, legally, while we're talking about this, if we have, and I'm hoping that maybe the threat of an injunction, legal action, would be enough to bring them into line for the time being. Because if we have to get an injunction, here's the language that we're gonna have to prove. They will provide ambulance service that has historically been provided by the ambulance corps. So I'd have to show what was historically provided back prior to 1989.
That was going to be Shannon's first answer to this first part of this question. I think the legal authority to respond is then delegated to them in that agreement,
right,
and that they are accountable to respond on that, in that area, on that first call.
But he's talking
But I
about
think what Clint's
historical.
saying is, if historically, please, I mean,
Historically,
if
before
historically, they would only go when there's a second ambulance available,
They have to
then
prove
we
it.
have nothing, we have
Right,
nothing
right.
to stand on.
Historically.
That was back when we had a voluntary.
And that, I don't believe was the case historically. If they got a call in Wetmore, they went.
They went.
It was generally Florence would respond, we would respond, and whoever got there first would take the patient. Because we knew that it was forgive the term, a crapshoot, who would get there first. So we almost always went, and it was almost always Rex. I don't remember ever running a medical down in that area. I have run medicals other places out of district, but
They run a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of medical calls in that one out. And when I say a lot, it's relative, right? I mean.
5 calls a
but there
month
are,
is the average.
But there are, I mean, they just went on one, half an hour ago.
But, you
So
know,
what more?
back to the original point,
A medical call.
I don't think we have to
Yeah.
wait for a meeting to
Yes.
get this rolling.
So they got a second.
Force this option. I think we should proceed to force them to consider that.
Well, what I would like to try to pursue is a temporary agreement with them. First, we get them to acknowledge what the
Right.
responsibility is, and then get a temporary agreement that forget their policy, that we want them to, and I don't know the terms, but if there's a call from their you know, you send an ambulance, you don't wait for a second crew to come in or anything
Or
else.
the fact they're in
Yeah, just, I mean, the way
They go
ambulance
just like
service
that.
should be, if you got an ambulance available, send it. I
Could
mean,
you draft up a proposed agreement to that effect?
I certainly could.
Because that's down to the nut cutting, right? We believe they should send one whether they have second call up here or not. Right?
Right.
If I may. I think before we draft the agreement, we ought to have some kind of a meeting of the minds, an agreement of some sort where they say, okay, I'll agree to do that temporarily until we could whatever. I would much rather have them say, yeah, we'll work with that, and then ask council to spend multiple hours writing an
Let them
agreement.
come up with it with him.
I don't know, that's just a thought.
If you can get that out of them, sir, I would applaud you.
Well, that's why I'm thinking he's gonna write this agreement and they're gonna go, we don't care, we have a policy. Our policy is, and we'll hear it for the 88th time, you're not getting help unless.
That's why I would like to see just enforce that agreement, just say, we expect you to do it, period.
We keep hearing
Not- we
this
don't have
talk. This would be something besides talk. We could put a document on the table and say, buy in or not. If you do not buy in, then we're gonna figure out something else to do.
Then we'd have to go to court. I mean,
Right.
show them the option, and that's going to court and getting a temporary injunction to compel them to honor this agreement. But the judge is gonna wanna ask, well, what was the historical, service that was provided by the ambulance? Of course, we have to be prepared with people who were involved back then to come in and
You
say,
were
well,
involved back then, and then you.
Keith Hood
with
was,
this.
then get him in here.
yeah, well, I mean, Keith had signed off on
Yes,
this.
sir,
Was he
he-
in the ambulance corps back
No,
at that
he
time?
wasn't in the ambulance corps.
He was the
talking
hospital
about-
district.
But did he know what historically the ambulance service was? Because
Sure.
that's what we have to have, that's what a judge
Yeah, I
will
didn't
want
go
to
back
do.
Daryl.
that far.
Well, Daryl, Taloa, Cindy, Jackie from the day she came on, which was after
97.
Sure.
88.
Lots of people testify.
There's a lady, there's another person I know who was, and she's teased me about it before. Anyway, yeah, there's multiple.
So it would come down, in my opinion, then how far back does a judge consider historical? If he goes back to 1990, then
Right.
truly that's been their policy all along.
Well, historical would be what they were doing up to the point it was turned over to the hospital district.
1989.
And I believe they ran.
Alright.
They didn't sit and wait for a second ambulance crew. They went.
They
There's
probably only
enough people-
had
They
one
probably only
ambulance.
had one, that's right.
And they always
But-
provided service for the entire county, even though, like you said, Florence would, whoever got there first, but.
Right.
Maybe the agreement's the way to go, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know either. I just, every time we talk to people, they say, well, all you do is talk. So that's what I thought, well, let's see.
They're right.
And
Just
they're
do
right.
it.
So, and then I also would agree, if that doesn't work, then to say, okay, council, what do you think our next step is? And then go to that next
Then the
step.
next step would be
File for an
legal
injunction.
proceeding, get a temporary injunction. They aren't gonna want, they'll have to go spend thousands of dollars for an attorney to represent them on this. And they don't wanna pour that kind of money into it.
So,
okay,
I
I
don't
just
know.
voiced my concern, but
Right.
if we feel that writing the agreement and then trying to get it enforced is another issue, I have no issue.
Well, I can put together a proposed
I'm great.
agreement for you to look at and see if it's something you wanna present to them or
I
not.
would guess an hour's worth of effort would produce that document, don't you? I mean, it should be
Then if I was
rocket science.
if I was billing by the hour.
When I'm not talking.
Yeah, it'd be 6 hours.
Depends on how
that
many
works.
whereases
Yeah, 10
there are.
minutes, 10
Damn
minutes.
attorneys.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. This is what we're asking you to agree to. You provide ambulance coverage on a first call basis down there until we can get to the ballot or come up with some other
Right,
alternative.
and get them to agree to that.
Go ahead. And then we'll get-
I think you should consider that there is a bigger issue than Wetmore. And that's whether the current ambulance service is providing real care to to even in district. I don't know legally how you would take it back from them. You said you'd have to show breach of contract. Well, if they're only answering 40% of their second calls, that's a problem not just in Wetmore, that's a problem here too. And so if they are not providing a service that we think
Is acceptable.
that was outlined to the public as ambulance service, and I don't know what that legally means, then you would have grounds for taking it back and giving it to AMR. Or
The only
whatever.
thing I've seen that even comes close to addressing that was in the ballot that said, 2014, that said to provide a better ambulance service. That was never delineated. What's that mean? I'm sure a judge is gonna look at that and go, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but.
Well, and better than then, could be even better, I mean, cause we could get three ambulances.
Right, so I would be interested in at least looking at an agreement that we could maybe take to that meeting in Wetmore.
Okay.
If you think it ought to go to them before that, we can have that discussion as well, but, there's always been a lot of talk, and there's been a lot of complaining, and I don't think anything's ever been done, other than the clinic amending that service plan in 2015 and going to the voters 3 times for additional money for the clinic.
Any further license since?
88, so, anything else? Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Yeah, 2 things have been really eating at me. The first one is, how do we know that those ambulance workers would not be okay with working for AMR?
I have no idea.
That's the first thing.
We don't,
Right,
Jenny
exactly.
said, why don't you
Exactly.
survey them? She offered up a solution to that.
Would they feel comfortable giving their opinion?
No idea.
Number 2 is, why wouldn't they wanna get rid of this headache? Why are they so glued to keeping the ambulance?
I would guess, based on what I've heard them say, is, and you brought it up, the employee situation. I don't think that holds water in the real world. My point when asking them how many of their people are quote unquote verbally committed to work 2 years in exchange for getting paid for part of their class paid for.
You're intentionally
if
misled.
If this goes away, then that agreement goes away, right? Because maybe they say, okay, if you're working for AMR, as long as you're working in the county, we'll still honor that $700 commitment.
That's right.
And that's fine, I don't have a problem with that.
That's,
But I think those are the 2 reasons that,
that's for 2
And
people.
maybe we took that commitment over as the county saying, look, we're not gonna cheat these people. If you stay on for that period of time, we're talking $1,400. I mean,
It's easy to get.
this county can pay it itself, and the heck with this, if the hospital did it, that would be my opinion. It's not enough money for us to not honor the commitment that was made to these dedicated individuals.
now I'll tell you something that did come out of that meeting that I thought was worthwhile last night. It was darn sure new information for me. That 5 of the 7 people came out of the fire department.
And were paid for in full by the fire department. So, I'm thinking this morning, okay, so who ran the class? Did the clinic run the class?
Don't know.
That basic class?
Yeah.
I believe
It was,
Don't know.
Beth taught that
I think
class.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
So,
was a-
which
she was
means,
a-
okay, so there's grant money that came in, that paid 50/50
Yep, paid half.
And the fire
for
department
all
paid the other
7?
50.
No,
No.
fire department paid
For the 2 is my,
5, for 5.
yeah, but I think the grant paid for the 2. But I don't know, we need
We
to
don't
ask
know.
that, that's a great
You know,
question.
because
don't
was
know.
there money
Sounds like they got extra
made
money.
on the deal?
There sounds
Yeah,
like.
need to ask that question.
Well, we could look in their really great,
Okay, have at that.
No.
It's on the
I can
website.
say anything I want, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, we're talking about AMR, I still think that somebody needs to have a conversation with them. There's no reason why, as part of the agreement, they can't agree to hire the people that are living here and keep them here. There's no
No.
reason in the world
That
that they
question
would
was
take them out.
asked and
Yeah.
answered, and they said as
Sure.
long as,
On-
the answer was if they meet our minimum requirements, we would be delighted to hire them.
Yes.
That's right.
That's my point.
But we can't, I would not insist that they hire them, because maybe they have a really good reason not to.
Well, that's right.
And that
You
would
don't
be
wanna
up
hire
to AMR.
unqualified guys.
Right.
I mean, that's a
But they gotta bring them up to the
resource.
standard they'll hire them by, you know, I mean, there's ways to train them.
So that's a great question. Did the fire department pay for those 5 firefighters to get basic certified, right?
Well, that's what they said last night.
And if they did,
And
then what did the grant pay for?
And they charging the EMTs too,
'Cause the
$700. My
Right.
understanding, the way I heard it, and I could have heard it wrong, they actually paid $700 out of their pocket
Right.
to be
Right.
reimbursed at the end
Right.
of 2 years.
Right.
That's the way I understood it.
Who's they?
The two people,
Two
The
people.
2 people, yes.
that's the way I understood it too.
As did I.
And that's an expensive EMT course.
So, your question's a good one. Both of your questions. I mean, you can only surmise, because you're not gonna get an answer from the clinic. They'll tell you our people love it, and if you love it, then wouldn't you work for whoever? So, we'll go from there. Anything else on the clinic board meeting? I'm gonna work on setting the meeting up, and I can tell you, I will try to toss the ball to their board of directors chairman to let them spend some
Take
time
some
in front of those
accountability, that's
boards.
right, I think
I think
that's
we should
good.
make it the clinic's meeting with Wetmore people, and we're just there as
We're gonna
observers.
observe.
How to do that.
I have nothing else to tell people about one that we haven't told already.
If you
Okay, we'll move on. Discussion of the broadband management agreement with Westcliff and Silvercliff. I got some issues. Don't know how to say this other than just being honest, and please treat it with all the respect that you deserve, Mr. Cannon. I'm assuming you must have talked to whoever about using some of Dola's money. How did they come up with the idea that we could go to Dola for
That wasn't,
$63,000?
I didn't talk to them about that.
So where in the world they come up with the idea that the county could go to Dola and get 63
That's,
grand?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I do know that they deal with, DOLA themselves, they've done that in the past. I did, and as a matter of fact, mentioned it in the several meetings that we've had, that in the scheme of things, I did call up, DOLA's executive director, the General Halter at the time, to ask him if we have a way of saving money. Can we use some of the money to connect fiber in when this first came up, knowing that they weren't gonna put in fiber, it was gonna be a wireless connect in the first place, and then that was when we were talking with CenturyLink, and we were gonna bring up a fiber potentially working the path up to Hardscrabble. So I knew it was possible, because Herb Halter said, yeah, you can do that, just deal with it, and that money can be used. But then we started talking, how did it come up initially that, it was when the CCED brought it up in Wetmore that they wanted to use some money up front, do some engineering, to borrow the money just like these guys had proposed. But I had nothing to do with putting any ideas in their mind about using DOLA money.
so it would be interesting, and if we end up at another meeting, I will ask that question. I didn't want to ask it then, because I didn't think it'd be appropriate.
Right.
I'll talk to you first, but, go ahead.
Thank you. I of course did not bring anything up, but I think it's very common knowledge that CCED has $1 million grant from DOLA for broadband. I think it's reasonable to believe that they came up with that number themselves.
Sure.
That they made that inference on their own.
I
And
don't, I disagree completely.
I think by the way, that's not CCED's money, it's our money. Right. But they came up, it was their plan.
They come up
I'll
with
get
the
terminology
idea.
right. The county has a grant
Right.
for $1 million to put in 6 towers, which is half the cost of what it's gonna be. The other half is supposed to come from the federal government. And where that has been for the last 5 months, not a soul has shown
Right.
up here and talked to us one iota about where they are on that project.
No.
I have no
That's
idea,
right.
and I will not ask them to come here because I don't wanna use smart
Right.
screens again.
So what I do know about Mark Carmel is that he has a lot of experience as a city manager for Colorado Springs, or for, I forget, I don't even know what it is. He's worked with DOLA a lot, so.
Okay, and I will tell you, I've had dealings with Mr. Rodriguez, and he is for real.
Yeah.
He is for real.
Rivera?
Rivera.
Rivera, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
he,
sorry.
same here.
Thank you.
And he was in
He's
our
the-
first
he's the
century
real
link
deal.
meeting on the big issue when we started talking
He's the
CDOT.
real deal.
He's the real deal.
Yeah, I just struggle with the whole concept of coming back to the county wanting, just like we did with the Economic Development Corporation, wanting us to front the 63 grand. I think I tried to make that pretty
You did
clear.
a good job of it.
I'm not sure I would support it, and I don't care who stands up in the room and says this is a great plan. How can you let $63,000 stand in the way of a $9 million project? This has 3 names written on it: Westcliff, Silvercliff, and the county. If they don't come up with their third of the share of that, I'm not interested.
And respectfully, I completely disagree with you.
Okay.
Completely. This is money that has come from the state of Colorado for broadband service. We, the county, are responsible or have taken the lead on the broadband project. We have pledged money from DOLA to help with it. The 6 tower project has been on hold now for I don't know how many months. I think it's not coming out of our Custer County taxpayer money to help Silvercliff and Westcliff. I think it is our duty to help them, help the county get the broadband that the county absolutely needs. It will come back to us in tax revenues when people have broadband and can do, I'm not going into the economic reasons why, but I feel asking, Westcliff probably has the money, Silvercliff probably does not, and I don't know that for a fact, that's just the way I've understood it. I think this is a countywide issue. The county got a grant, the county ought to be able to provide that 63. If we choose to fund anything at all, or we just say to the proposal that was given to us, we're not interested,
Right.
and move on from there.
Well,
That's my opinion.
let me jump in on that too, because I agree with Jay, Tom, that we need, the broadband is a big deal. The tower project, it was only a small part, and as a matter of fact, it had flaws. It doesn't get broadband to everybody, it doesn't get it even into the towns. It had the need for a fiber feed into it to make it reliable and the bandwidth sufficient, and that was their next step. They were gonna go after new money, and that was gonna be years down the road. So we have an opportunity to jumpstart this and do a better job of it, which is number one. And I believe there's still opportunities to get money elsewhere. I think a private partnership, government partnership, even an investor up here in the county, we could find $23,000, go out there and have a garage sale and get everybody on board for I'm being facetious.
I understand.
To actually
The
come up
Main
with
Street Wi-Fi
help.
was privately funded,
Sure.
and they raised that money in a weekend.
And I think we could do some of that even now if we get behind this and say it's important. Join the bandwagon and get that $10 million fiber laid in here, and then the as you saw the presentation, the providers will pay the last mile connection and all that stuff. They'll come from to it. But anyway, I think it's a big deal.
Well, I take exception, 2 points. Number one, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Prince. Why did you feel differently on the tower project? You voted not to give them money out of DOLA's, out of our $1 million grant. Okay, explain that to me.
Okay, they did not have a plan. They had nothing to throw in front of us other than give me more money.
Right.
There was nothing concrete that would have led to the development of that plan by giving them that engineering money. This is a real plan, a real discussion, a real contract with CDOT, which would be the ultimate result. So this is a real deal with people who I have the utmost faith in. And I'm not saying CCED, I don't have the utmost faith in, but I'm suspect because we heard a lot of promises and there was lack of delivery. At least on, we'll come back to you with the people who will lease us the towers, who will do it. So that's why I have a difference of opinion.
Okay.
This is a real project with real people. That is a pie in the sky. Give me more money and I'll try and deliver it.
And I've got one point to add to that. In addition, there's new funding source. It's the U.S. Department of Agriculture with this that is real, and it's a hard fiber in there. It has nothing to do with the tower.
And I took the initiative because during the presentation conversation, they kept saying, the only thing that really matters is a contract with CDOT. Without that, you have nothing. And I challenged them on that in terms of, will you make a contract contingent upon getting that?
Sure.
And they hemmed and hawed a little bit, and I did not make it tongue in cheek, although some people kind of laughed at it. But I truly feel, if you are going to give me your expertise to make this contract, and everything hinges on this contract, if you can't deliver, I'm not paying you. That was my attitude. The towns and the county can decide how they wanna handle it. But they said they were willing to discuss that. And I told them, I'm not negotiating with you, I just wanna know if that's your feeling. So there is a major difference between what.
I understand your point about the plan. To me, the Economic Development Company came to us and wanted money to pay for a study, a plan to move forward. I don't see any different with Carmel coming to us and wanting 63 grand to move forward with their plan. Is their plan better? Is there more pages to it and there are more pictures? Hell yeah, no argument there. But the ask was the same, give us more money to move forward with the plan.
But one plan I know, if the money goes to them, will end up with a viable project. The other one, I hate to say this, but appeared to me to
It's
be.
incomplete.
It's smoke and mirrors.
Never
You
had a
have
business
nothing
case.
concrete on this table, and that's been my problem with CCE
Okay.
from day one. Show me your damn plan, and what we said to them, show it to us. Mr. Bogle himself said to us, well, we don't like to show our cards all at once. He said that to us. I remember those words, and I was furious. What do you mean? We're supposed to be in a partnership here, and you're not gonna tell us what you're
Set
up to?
one from the get-go on it.
Do you
There's no
remember that?
business plan ever, and it didn't have an.
Dole believed in him enough to put $1 million on the line. It wasn't for broadband ring, it was for towers.
And I'll tell
I'm
you.
gonna struggle carving off money to do this thing here.
And
With
I
these
think-
two entities having no buy-in.
And I think the reason Dola was quick to give money on smoke and mirrors and ill-fated, I don't wanna say ill-fated, a very sketchy plan from CCE, from the Custer Economic Corporation. It was the mandate from the governor who said, you must get broadband to the counties. That was hang on a second, that was the mandate from the governor. And Dola said, Governor, we're going to do that. So they would approve almost any plan, I think, that had the viability of being successful.
That's partially true. I'll tell you the rest of the story. That was Obama era money that was expired. And we were the only county or only government agency that asked for it, and it had to be earmarked, broadband specific only. And it would be gone. If we hadn't gone in there, that $1 million would have gone back into the pot to compete with other projects, not just broadband. So we had the leg up on it to begin with, and they knew it's up to the EDA to bring out the business case. You know, we had all that Dolam piece is the big concept. It didn't, if you remember, the business case was never presented to them. We didn't have rights of ways agreed to. We didn't have people agreeing to put their equipment on our towers. A lot of things were at fault on the thing. And that's still the case. That's why they got hung up on it with EDA in the first place. Now they're trying to build the piece to follow up. So this is an opportunity to save the broadband towers, by the way, because now we can get feed into it that will be real and and the technical ability for that broadband to have the bandwidth and the reliability is there with this fiber, and it's in 18 months.
Well, I think the tower project will stand on its own whether we have broadband in here or not. So I don't agree that
Okay,
this will save the towers. I think that project will go along just fine. Now, can it be better? Sure it can. I'm not arguing that. But is it gonna fail if we don't get this broadband ring put in here? No,
Yeah,
it won't. They'd have never funded it if it would have, Bill.
Tom, that still we haven't even proven that yet. The EDA hasn't agreed to it yet because of that.
I'm talking about DOLA.
Well,
DOLA would have
DOLA
never funded that.
The reason they did is for what I told you.
I
That
understand
money
that.
was gonna be lost. And that was not any skin off their neck. But they believed in the project enough to fund it. There's no doubt about it. this is just a great opportunity now.
I just wanna see some buy-in from West Cliff and Silver Cliff. I was
agree with that.
damn near offended when they just dumped it all on the county's back to come up and fund
I
this.
agree with that, except
I
that
did not.
it's an opportunity.
Well, it can be an opportunity. Hell yeah, like I said, I'd jump on it. I think it was a great plan if Silver Cliff was paying
Sure.
for it.
I would agree with you, Commissioner, if it was Custer County money. It is not Custer County money. It is the state of Colorado's money in a grant, and we're using it for what the basis of this grant was,
Yes, broadband.
broadband. Forget
No.
everything else, yes.
No, sir, that
That's
grant
okay, we
was
don't have to
submitted
argue
for a
over that.
6-tower project.
Those are our
Correct.
For
perspective.
broadband.
For broadband, 6-tower project. It is county money because we applied for the grant.
I get it. And if we go to DOLA and say, we would like to amend this, cause they would have to approve the 63 grand. If they were in favor of it, I would be in favor of it, because I feel it's not coming out of our tax base, and it is solving an issue that we have been working so diligently to do, is to get broadband to the county.
And I'll tell you something else. Even if they disapproved it, $23,000 from the county's point of view to do this, we can look at priorities on what we would wanna do from an outreach point of view and our strategic vision and all that stuff. And I think we can justify spending our own money if we had to. But I wouldn't wanna go the whole $63,000 route necessarily.
Once we start taking our money, I'm 100%
Right.
agreement with Commissioner Flower. I am not, since it's not our money.
I get it.
We're using it for the betterment of this county from a grant that came from the state of Colorado. I think we
And-
have an obligation to
And
our
that's the
citizens
point I made in that
to
meeting,
provide it.
to dot the i's and cross the t's. I've gotta see what they mean by what they propose to go to DOLA
I'm not
with.
giving them the check tomorrow.
That's
We're
right.
talking conceptually, okay? Conceptually, this is something that DOLA's funding, and I don't wanna say all we have to do. What our responsibility is, DOLA, would you divert 63 grand to help the citizens of Custer County get broadband under a project that we feel is viable? If we do, if we don't feel it's viable, we throw it out the window.
Right.
So,
And technically, this was the other point I wanted to make. This project isn't bringing broadband to this county. That's phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4. We can't sell this ring that now we put this, their estimate was $9 million. That doesn't get us broadband. That doesn't do nothing except put this ring in to get the first phase done. Correct?
nothing will get done without it. If phase 1 is done, there is no phases
No,
after
there is,
that.
that's right.
Oh,
This
there
does,
isn't.
this does
There has
get,
to be, Jay. Phase 1 is putting that fiber down around to I-25. Doesn't have a darn thing to do with broadband in this county.
That's how it's
Ja-
gonna
Tom,
get
that's how
here.
it gets
That's
here.
how it's going to get here. Yes,
It
phase
has to
2,
be in.
phase 3, phase 4. I understand it won't get here without it. I understand that.
Okay,
But we can't say,
I'll
oh,
work
we
with
get
you.
this $9 million in here, we'll have broadband. No, we won't.
but the next phase,
The
Tom,
next phase, that's exactly
if
what
you
I
want to call it a
said.
phase, the next
Yes,
step
sir.
is that providers pay for the connectivity. They
That's
just hook up to the
exactly what I
broadband
said.
fiber.
That's
You
exactly
cannot
what I
get
said.
That's not our
phase
money.
2. You cannot do phase 2 until
I
you have
agree
phase 1.
100%.
And this is the
So,
phase
and
1
if we
portion
didn't
of it.
support that, it's done.
So,
I'm just saying, phase 1 does not get broadband to our citizens, yes or
no
no?
one is ever arguing that point.
Okay, all
It
right.
does, you
then
don't
that's
turn it
done.
on the day phase 1 is done. You got a fiber in there,
And
and
I
you gotta
have-
wire it up to the
In
computer.
my home, I have broadband. I
Sure.
have a tower, a dish that shoots off a Rosita tower, and my connectivity went from like 1.0 to 17 or 18. It's terrific, but it's not great. A fiber's better. That doesn't mean anything other than if we wanna get broadband into this county, phase 1 is a necessity in my opinion.
You have to.
And it's also a necessity for the towers, in my opinion.
The towers
I
told us
know-
that. That's
I
their
know-
plan, to get a
I
fiber
know
connected.
You can beam the broadband to the towers, which then repeats it out to other people. They told us, and I absolutely believe, instead of beaming it to the tower, if we could fiber it to the tower and then beam it out to people, it will be far superior for the people who have broadband.
That is the broadband tower plan.
Line of sight.
Correct. But
line
to
of sight.
feed the towers is the issue. So,
Well, unless you're, happen to not be in line of sight of a tower.
well, then you don't get one.
Exactly, we haven't done anything for those people.
I absolutely agree, I absolutely agree with that comment.
Yes.
Okay, so, forgive my confusion, I wasn't in that meeting. Are you talking about diverting $60-some thousand from our 1 million?
Correct.
That's what they
That,
propose.
of course, we've already chipped away at that already for the
Haven't
study, have
touched
we
it.
not?
No, we
We have
declined
not.
that.
Oh, we declined, couldn't
And
remember,
the second
okay.
half of your question I'll
Okay.
answer also.
Okay.
If we get the EDA grant, that would be not $1 million, cause it's a matching grant, it'd be $1 million minus 63. So it's really 2 times 63 is what this available funds will be less. For the tower project, if we did, it'd be $126,000, less two million less
To
126,000.
build 6 towers.
You see where I'm coming from? Because it's a matching.
Right,
fund.
right. It's the same conversation we had
Exactly.
Same
before.
conversation we had before.
But now it's, cause it was like 30,000 then or
Right.
something,
Well, they
but
wanted
now it's
50.
They wanted
60,
60.
and to bring fiber into town.
No.
No,
They wanted 50,000 to
no, I
move
mean
forward
this
with another
60,
study.
this 60
Do
thing,
another study.
But it was to bring wireless internet, broadband internet,
right.
to 80% of the addresses. That's
Well,
the
I never
business
believed that.
No,
But-
I didn't
But
either.
this thing that you're talking about, the 60,000 is that in theory you would take from our million
Right.
and give to
This
someone.
Carmel group out of,
Will bring what to who?
it will fund a plan. It won't bring anything. It'll pay for their management fee, not management fee, it'll pay for their,
It
their
pays,
plan, their
it
study.
pays for the plan
Oh,
that
it's
allows
another
the
study?
grant, it's for a grant with the USDA for $10 million. This plan has to be presented to them, and that's what it's about.
The 63 grand was to pay for a plan.
Plan,
End of state.
But in that plan, they were to negotiate an agreement with CDOT to run the right of way and bring the fiber into.
The in-kind
the two-
match.
Into the 2 towns.
That's right.
Through the county also, so you could take, I'm presuming this, you could take other cuts off at McKinsey Junction or wherever it was. Okay, but the bottom line is, the crux of this was, what we actually have in hand is not a report. What we actually have in hand is a contract with CDOT to perform this service.
Right.
And that was my issue with them. If you don't have that, this project is dead, and they promised it would be done, and we said, if you can't deliver on that contract, we're not gonna deliver on the 63 grand, and they basically agreed to that, or at
And-
least in concept said they would discuss that.
But I thought they were already laying that fiber.
That's CenturyLink.
CenturyLink's
Well, that's
laying their
something.
own.
it's a different thing.
It's
You're
a
not
different
doing-
Completely
site.
different.
Answer your question. A1 says the owner and the manager agree to be responsible only for the cost limited to the amount of the one-time management retainer, which was $63,000, and final payment that will be due upon completion of the feasibility analysis and the task assignments as outlined herein. 63 grand
For another
is
study.
for another study.
For a
But Jay
plan.
is saying.
No, not a study.
But Jay is saying within that study, if you will, comes a contract to lay a certain amount of fiber into the town.
For CDOT to
CDOT.
agree, for CDOT to agree to bring fiber into this area.
So the 63,000,
It's for the contract.
and it'll be in writing that they will bring this stuff into the county.
Correct.
See that?
Mr.
No.
Rivera.
You-
See, there's
I've seen it.
apparently a
There's
disagreement
nothing
on
in
what
there
the contract
guaranteeing that
says.
fiber will come into this valley,
And
not
that-
for 63 grand.
And that is why I approached them and challenged them
Here-
on it,
here-
and said, we
what-
need to fix your
what the-
contract, and they agreed.
Remember.
Well, then let's
the-
see it.
The deal,
Right.
what they proposed is a $125,000 plan be developed. CDOT contribution would be in kind. That was what their proposal was, and what remained was $63,000 of hard cash that had to be paid in order to get the grant, or get them to agree. That's how CDOT operates, it's an in-kind match. That money is used to put the plan together for the USDA, which wants to see the community. They wanna see the municipalities and the county as an entirety. If they go to it with just one town, or just if it was just the county, the likelihood of getting USDA to agree is low, to do it is smaller. And I personally talked to the director of the state, Sally Clark, for the USDA, that actually does have the money on that, and they wanna use us as a showcase for making this an agreement, you know, the rural county being connected piece. So it's it's bringing fiber into it.
But it only brings it into the towns, right?
No,
No.
it brings it,
Okay.
it makes
Wait,
the
wait,
loop.
wait.
It comes out of I-25 on
Just
69, up at 69 and back down 96 to connect there, so it completes the ring.
It's a circle.
Okay.
And those are connected.
And the theory is, of course, as long as that fiber's in the circle, you can take
Shoot off
pieces
of it.
off it as
You
you
take,
need.
Right.
trunks off of it, and so the town, let me tell you, what Silver Cliff wants to do is use it to provide services to each of their, residents for a fee to make money for the town of Silver Cliff. West Cliff wants to do the same thing. It's like a utility, service set up with a private contractor operating it for the town.
That is
Okay,
We can
so-
do the same thing as the county, and we can supply, lines to our our own, justice center, our own county government and all that, and with extra fibers that we could lease if we wanted to make some money,
I don't want to
commercially
be a
as well. We
utility.
don't have to.
Okay, so where is the redundancy with what CenturyLink is bringing in? Or is it,
There
am I
isn't any.
missing?
CenturyLink is doing a
Century-
lot
still
smaller
copper,
fiber, it's
isn't it?
CAF money, it's Connect America funds, and it's the issue that they made.
So
was
it's not fiber,
It
It's
is,
fiber,
but it's not any part of what these guys are talking about.
right, it's not,
but I,
Which is better.
okay, but we're not gonna have
we're not being held hostage to a
two
company.
things coming in at the same time
We will.
being the same
Different
thing.
directions,
Different.
We'll
Right.
have the choice of
Capability.
AT&T or Verizon, same type of thing. This
Yeah.
will, you see what I'm saying?
And in fact, there's an
Well, yeah.
opportunity
It's
for
redundancy.
CenturyLink to release fiber off of this big bundle that's coming up through this plan.
How do we have fiber here?
Pardon?
How do we have fiber here?
CenturyLink,
CenturyLink brought it in.
small, up to, the trouble
Forgive
with
my
it.
confusion, I guess I should have.
Well,
It's a
your
different-
point was, what's $63,000 pay for?
Right.
It pays for a fiber broadband network infrastructure plan. Nowhere in this contract does it talk about USDA. It talks about trying to get eligible to apply for state and federal grants.
To apply for the federal grant.
State and
So,
federal grants.
so
both
unless
of
there are
them.
some changes, as Jay said, that they were gonna change that, that's the same old song and dance.
They want money for a plan.
In that
Correct.
that paperwork right there is the same old song and dance that we hear all the time.
And that
But
is-
if we do this, then we'll be eligible for.
And that is why they were challenged, because who
Okay.
the heck wants to pay for another
Right.
stupid
Again,
plan?
okay,
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
I was there at the meeting, and one thing that really impressed me, because I was extremely skeptical, is the fact that Mr. Rivera has those ties, those strong ties to CDOT, and he has a proven success record. I asked another person that was at that meeting, like I said, because I was extremely skeptical, and I said, "Do you trust them?" And that person said 110%, and they were not necessarily for
Yeah.
it to begin with.
And I'm a little skeptical still, and here's why. Rivera has a great track record as a CDOT employee, of which he is no longer. Now he's a contractor for this Carmel deal. So we'll see. I'm not saying he's doomed. I'm not saying he's gonna maintain the same track record he did as a CDOT employee. Let them put their money where their mouth is, which is what Jay said.
What Jay got, and then, what.
And
But
I
I
thought that was
say
a great
Hopefully,
idea.
it yields a letter of intent from CDOT, says, yeah, you know, we have this program, we've done it in the past with six countries or
There's 4 times
municipalities.
since he's left CDOT, Mr. Rivera has contracted with CDOT. I just want to tell you, because
In 5 months.
But
He's been retired 5 months.
Right.
He's contracted 4.
That's what he told me.
Okay.
I don't
So,
have any,
I'm not as high on Rivera as Carmel is, I can tell you that right now.
well, that's right. Now, honestly, the way Carmel made his presentation, I kept thinking I was at a sideshow.
Yeah, I know,
at a carnival. I was not impressed with it at all.
upset with him the way he did it.
I felt, what is this, some kind of dog and pony show?
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
I wanna
You know?
see some skin in the game from Silver Cliff and West Cliff.
I
Then
don't
my
think, I
position
don't
will
think that's
change.
asking
Okay.
too much, because I think that, you know, what you obtain too cheaply, you do not value.
One thing I wanna say about Silver Cliff though, in their defense, they are extremely poor. They cannot afford to even fix their roads because they're losing a lot of revenue and have been for over 30 years, not having a
Maybe
zip
it's
code.
just $1,000.
Skin in the game.
True,
Okay.
absolutely.
And as
I agree.
skin in the game is different than a third. I will never argue with, you need to put some money up where you're talking.
Right, absolutely.
And should West Cliff pay more than Silver Cliff? Probably, because they can afford a lot more. I suspect, I don't really know, okay?
But especially if they're going
don't-
to make money
That's right.
by
The
by
revenue.
selling this service to their residents, they're gonna make money, so maybe they
They
ought to
saw
have
that
at
as
least
an
some
opportunity.
skin in the game.
And what
I'm
about?
opposed to skin in the game. I'm opposed, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to
no,
interrupt
no,
you.
it's okay.
I'm very concerned that this project's gonna go away because we say to Silver Cliff, you need to come up with 21 grand, and they look at us and go, dude, what, are we gonna have a lot of bake sales? I mean, that's what I believe Buck Wenzel said. I mean, tongue in cheek, but he's right, they just don't have it.
They literally
Some
don't.
skin in the game, Commissioner Flower, I agree with you 100%.
Right.
A
And-
third, I disagree with.
And what about once revenue starts coming back in for this, you know, as they can, you know, pay some of their,
And where would that money go, back to DOLA? See,
No,
that's the
that's
key,
a-
this is not our money.
you're right.
This is not our money.
Well, it will be once we ask DOLA for it,
Yeah, well,
because we'll be on the hook to repay it if the deal doesn't go through.
Well, I understand that.
Okay, so, all right, other discussion? Okay, public comment. I had a couple things, gentlemen, I forgot to mention during the commissioner's report. Obviously Meredith is not here today. She is at a, meeting in Pueblo. It was a combined meeting. It wasn't an OEM meeting and it wasn't a public health meeting. It was a combined meeting and I forget the name of that. Sheriff Byerly, do you know? I know I'm catching you out of left field. Meredith went to a meeting in Pueblo today. They told me the name of the meeting and I forgot it. I don't know, but.
I don't know
Public
which
health
meeting it
went,
was,
OEM, I could call and ask, but
her and I
anyway,
are
that's where they're
scheduled
at.
to go to a DFPC meeting on
Yeah.
wildfire,
Right,
AOP.
right. Well,
But
she
that's
met
next
with
week.
Dennis the other day, but it was not DFPC.
Yeah, I don't know what
so,
meeting
okay.
she's actually starting.
And she also indicated that she needs to miss the meeting on the 14th, because she has an OEM commitment. And I said, that's fine. So we're interviewing, we can do the meeting in San Isabel, I think. I'll bring the agendas and that kind of stuff. So I told her, as far as I know, that's fine, but I said I will bring it up at the meeting today. Then the other thing I wanted to tell you was that we did post the scope of work and a request for bids on the RTUs, HVAC, rooftop units on the courthouse, so that's in the works. And then obviously the job vacancy announcements went out for both the maintenance position and the administrative assistant position. Ms. Hobby told me that 2 people came in and picked up applications for the admin assistant job. One person called and asked if she would reinvigorate a file or an application that she had on file here from our last hiring process. So supposedly we have 3 paper applications for that job and 0.
I didn't mean to interrupt. What is the cutoff?
13. Yeah.
we have how many?
3 and 0 for maintenance. And it also ends the 13th. So we'll have to see.
Really?
We may have to get a little more aggressive about our maintenance thing. I don't know.
Let's see, where's a hard copy of that maintenance description? We have one handy, or is it?
She
Well,
sent it to us.
Yeah, it's online.
It's online, isn't it?
Not hard copy, but it is online, yeah. So, right now that maintenance thing is scheduled up to 25 hours. We were hoping to get 20 hours, 5 hours a day, 8 to 4, or 8 to 12, but, no, I just don't think we can justify moving that to a full-time position with benefits for the amount of work that's done. Thank God this is not November. Or we'd be signing up to plow snow. So that's what I had to report. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have, the last I looked, there wasn't one, do we have a copy of the latest ordinance, the burn ordinance thing on the website?
Yeah, I looked.
I don't know. I will look.
The latest what?
The burn ordinance
Oh, the burn.
that passed, and we wondered if it was on the website.
Commissioners, have you
I
looked?
did not, well, I looked on, I think,
didn't look
I
at
haven't
it.
seen it.
Isn't it? I mean, I'll
over
look
the
at
weekend, I
several
think I
times.
I
looked,
did too.
but I
I
didn't.
did too.
I
Should be
haven't
under the
looked.
sheriff's page, correct?
And OEM.
Oh,
I
I
looked
looked
under
under
Look at that.
commissioners page,
Me
so,
too.
cause that's where all the other resolutions and
Right.
ordinances and whatnot are on the right-hand side of
Open
that
burn
thing.
management plan. That's not it.
That's the old one.
2012. And I'm sure if you looked and didn't find it, it's
Well, I
it's
looked
not
over the
there.
weekend, I just,
So let's say it's
Yeah,
burn,
me
go
too.
ahead, put it on.
Yeah.
So it's appropriate to be on there.
Alright.
I put
Let's
mine.
see, resolution 1902.
it's ordinance though, it's ordinance
Right.
1902, isn't
Yeah,
it?
here's
Resolution
yeah,
is,
ordinance 1901 's
Second
on here, but
Amendment.
that has nothing to do with it, so I'm just reading down through the list, so yeah, I doubt he's done that. So it was ordinance 1902, council, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, let me send him an email right now.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Other public comment. Hearing none, chair will entertain a motion.
I do have one thing that I should have mentioned earlier. I did talk to Clint during the break on the Justice Center, rights of way. There's an apparently abandoned electrical line. And, Clint suggested, we don't have a title policy on it because we don't do that until after, we actually buy it. It's on a lease deal. What was the name of what you said? What did you say we could do?
Ownership and encumbrance report, O&E.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to get, to understand if there has been any action taken, and it costs $70 to do it.
It would show ownership still being in the Hagan
Hagan
Trust,
name, and it would show any income.
but it would show anything that's recorded against the property. So
Right.
if there's anything where easements were vacated that were recorded,
I think that'd be to our benefit, not only for what we're being asked for by them, they need to understand, they don't wanna put
I'm
something on
fine
top of
with
something.
spending the money.
That's okay, we need to,
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't think so, unless,
I don't know. I think it's their responsibility to pay for it, I don't think it's ours, but I've made that.
well,
known.
I put that, that's what we did. We put it exactly into their bailiwick, and they went, they're working it out. The only question right now is, has it been abandoned or not? And we won't know, and neither will they, unless there is a request to get that, done. They know that there's a, line that's in there, they know where it is. I don't wanna have them design something around it unless we know, the only way, you know.
The scope of work that the agreement that we have, does it address anything like this?
The agreement we have is that the county would supply them with anything we had, and we did. And what we don't have is,
what title policy would have given us if we'd have owned the land outright.
They can't go to Haga and get that, Clint, as a landowner?
I doubt it. Haga probably doesn't have anything current on the property. I mean, if the easement was abandoned, for some reason, and you might, I suppose we could check with JD and see if there's anything that shows.
We
up
already
on his
did.
end. So nothing there? Yeah, if there's nothing there,
And,
'cause anything
Kit
that-
Shy's been giving them everything, and they paid for it, by the way, Tom.
What they pay for?
The Kit has surveys that he's done for other people that he owns. You know, he actually did, not as a county surveyor, it was his private business, and so they got everything he could give them, and he got stuff from Round Mountain on their rights of way, and so everything that they've done is good. The only thing that is at question right now is that one apparently abandoned easement. So I think it's worth the $70 to get that. I mean, we need it.
Well, I'm not sure who would have abandoned it if it was a,
And if it's not been used, we would know
no, just because it's not been used, it doesn't mean it's been abandoned.
that. Well, then maybe we would,
But the county could probably take some action to abandon it.
sure.
I guess, is the easement part of that Vivian de Parquet subdivision, is that what we're talking
It's in
about?
a piece of
I
ground.
don't know, I haven't done any research on this. This is the first time I've heard anything
I
about
have,
abandoned
and
right away,
that's
so.
the only easement, well, thought it would have, apparently is abandoned or not, they wanna know. And is it something that is gonna be, is being used through the property or not? And according to Kit, it's not, from what he knows. But he said a title policy would have told us, well, we don't have a title policy.
Well, I know, and he will, I suppose, tell you something, or probably maybe not tell you anything at all. That's a
It might
starting
not.
point.
Is it electrical or
Electric.
sewer or water or
Electric.
electrical easement?
They know the water stuff, they work with Round Mountain on it. And they're not gonna, and they had to spot the manhole cover precisely, so they wouldn't design something on top of the manhole cover that currently exists. And the Kit supplied them with enough data from other sources that they paid for, that they're comfortable. The only one that they don't know enough on is
If
this.
it's strictly for electrical, and it's Black Hills Energy here, right?
In Black Hills, they talked with Black Hills.
And they don't know anything about it. I suppose we could ask for a quitclaim deed from Kit, from Black Hills to the county, that whatever interest they may
I
have to
wonder-
use that interest if they are abandoning
And
it.
that's what I'm wondering.
That would be one way.
I think it was just stubbed into that little subdivision for Haga at one point, and there had nothing been done. I mean, the easement was put in.
Okay, and it's not anything that Riley Johnson wants to use, of course, for its.
They just wanna not put something on top of something that,
Right.
Well, it's not $70, I don't care about $70.
I don't think it's gonna show anything, though.
May not.
That'll show that anything recorded on it. If the easement was dedicated to the county for utilities and nobody has used it, I think the county could go ahead and take the steps to have it vacated.
But why would it have been if it's in the town? It's not in the county, it's in the municipality.
I think, yeah, that's true, you
That's
think
true.
about that.
I think it's Black Hills and I think it's the town of Westcliff. I don't think we have anything to do with it.
That's a good point.
I
Yeah, I don't know.
the $70.
the only thing we have to do is, Tom, we own the land. We lease the
Well,
land.
we lease
And
the
we're
land,
asking them
yeah.
to design something on top of our land. So we're in the middle of it. We can get somebody else to validate it or to verify it.
I just think that's gotta be the town of Westcliff and Black Hills, and Haggis,
That's part of the,
so.
Well, I don't think the town of West Coast is gonna give a hoot whether there's a line there or not. It's not their property.
that's right, so we gotta figure out, so, you know, we're gonna,
Well, but if
we're
the
leasing the
easement was
property.
dedicated, if it's recorded, it's probably dedicated to the county, even though it's in the town. I mean, that's I'd have to look at the subdivision plat and see what it says on it. So I have to go up and talk to JD and take a
Well,
look.
why don't we do that after we're done here, and let's figure out what we need to do one way or another.
I'll take a look and we can discuss it tomorrow then as to what
Yeah.
the best way to approach it is.
Public comment?
I need to have some time with you guys. I don't know if you wanna do a workshop, you wanna do it in a commissioners meeting. We need to talk about the dog center, the communication center. We need to have some candid discussions, so.
About our current one, you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know which would be the more appropriate platform. I do not think, after reading the regs on executive sessions, that would fall under that. But I agree that, and I don't have a problem during the meeting. It's gonna be a lengthy conversation, I'm sure,
Right.
but that's fine with me, I don't care.
It's gonna take some time, so.
It's time in a workshop or it's time in a meeting,
I don't think we ought to bore or encumber people that come to these meetings. I think we ought to have a workshop on it. It's gonna be a lengthy thing.
Well, obviously, the people who are coming to our meetings.
We'll come to the workshop
People
anyway.
that-
Some of them will.
And I'd say we put it at the end of the agenda if it isn't a meeting, that way people, they get them walk out.
Yeah.
But
Ultimately, the decision will not be ours. I believe it will be the sheriff's decision.
Right.
So it makes no difference to me whether we did it in a workshop or not, because we're not gonna be making any decisions.
That's right.
If we were gonna be making a decision, I'd say let's definitely put it on an
Yeah.
agenda.
Right, and that's why I
Is this
proposed
similar to
whatever.
the discussion we had last night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, I mean, I have a small preview of what the discussion will be, from a meeting last night, but, I'm fine with either one, but I think it's something that needs to get done soon.
Sooner than later.
So either we'll have to, we could.
it's not happening on the
agenda
14th.
for tomorrow.
It's not happening tomorrow, and it's not happening on the 14th.
So then let's do.
Because we are jammed on the 14th, so the
Oh, that's-
31st would be the next agenda item meeting, but we could do a workshop anytime we can agree. So it doesn't matter to me.
How critical is the timeline, Shane?
I mean, we don't need to be putting it off a month.
You're
Yes,
having a
I mean,
meeting
I
on
have a
Friday
meeting,
at
I have a
1?
meeting with FreeCom on the 15th. And, I mean, I would like to,
But you have a meeting at 1 o'clock on the Friday the 9th.
something completely different.
Totally different, but my point is you'd be in town, correct?
Yeah, right.
I'm open on the 9th in the morning.
That's like this Friday, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
I would be available on the 12th, which is a Monday.
For you all,
Monday I can do.
I'm fine with Friday the 9th, or what day, Monday?
Monday.
The 12th works for me.
Given the two, I probably prefer Monday,
Let's
but
do Monday. I can't
Alright,
do
Monday,
Friday.
what time do you wanna do that, gentlemen?
9?
Yeah, that's fine.
Here?
Yeah, we'll just do it here.
So I will get that posted.
Before we say here, let's just look, we don't have an executive administrator, is there anything on your calendar for that day?
No.
Not
Okay.
that I see.
That's fine, I was just concerned we didn't have like tourism or something like that. Monday the 12th at 9, and that's gonna be a workshop. Correct?
Yes. You schedule it from 9 to 11?
What are we calling it?
Just
Workshop
workshop
with
on
Sheriff.
comm center.
9
Comm center
a.m.
workshop.
I'll bring some info, some more info that I'm putting together for it. I'm hoping, it doesn't last more than an hour, but, I just wanted you guys to be completely up to speed, and so if you get asked any questions, or
Appreciate
you
it.
may be able to help deflect any darts comes my way.
It'd be awesome to
Okay.
share.
You doing it in here, did we decide?
Yes.
Of what?
Whatever you
So
need.
that is August the
I can do it.
It's really
What's
hard to
August?
follow.
12th.
Can't follow along.
Yeah, I can do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where are you?
I'm so sorry, I was in July. I'm sorry.
At
But you're a month ahead.
9.
Correct.
For 2 hours.
Brian, we need to post it, so.
I said I will post
Oh,
that,
okay,
yes.
sorry, I didn't hear you, I apologize.
So I put it on the commissioner's calendar.
Clint, why don't you think about the maintenance job? thinking about maybe you could take that on also.
It's 20 hours a week. You
It's
can't
too
handle
darn
that.
bad I couldn't use one of my trustees, cause we got a guy over there that would do as good a job as anybody you could find.
How long are you gonna have him?
A couple more months. I'm
I don't wanna go through this
I'm not
again in
kidding
2
you, he
months.
is a sharp guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I have absolutely.
He has done spectacular work in our building and around our,
And I
I
have
think I
no
saw him working
issue-
yesterday.
I
Oh, yeah.
have no issue whatsoever having someone who may have spent some time with you in your custody to work for the county.
For training.
yeah,
in
he's,
this
he's,
position.
And what
he's
does
in
he do
custody
after?
for a non-violent, I mean, it's a,
Can he get work released during the day?
He's got drywall experience.
you just have to
carpenter
talk to the
experience.
sheriff about that.
Seriously.
He, I mean,
Hey,
he's
Sheriff,
got all
can
kinds of
we have him?
experience, he's very sharp.
Looks
Oh,
like
that's
you
if
need
he has an
to.
interest, I wouldn't mind interviewing him, seriously.
Okay, he's from Werfenel County, so I don't know, but
Approach it with him.
So he wouldn't hang around afterwards, he'd go back to work.
I can't imagine that he would, but I mean, who knows, maybe unless he's looking
Can't
for a
read it
different.
from here.
He may not wanna be reminded of this place.
I don't know if he's married or,
just wanted to
you know,
read it.
What a
yes.
wonderful opportunity for a guy who, whatever he did, now he can have a.
Can you
good
find
job.
out, cause we could do a, what do you call it, an internship with him where he is right now.
He did,
Well,
he worked for Jess Price doing drywall for many years.
I know who you're talking about.
Jose,
He's
Sir?
done
his name's Jose.
metal roofs, carpenter.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking
But
about.
does he fill bird feeders? That's the
Unfortunately,
real test for him.
And water.
It doesn't do anything for the long-term problem.
It does.
He would,
He wants to stay on
he
and.
could have.
Well,
a
Take
he's
him as
leaving in
work
2
plan, and
months.
when you're done with him, we can hire him. Or,
Maybe he could commit more offenses and go back to
Right.
jail.
There's that too.
okay, I read about this.
I
shit.
move we
Room,
adjourn
board,
this
and a
meeting.
job.
And second, moving second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Feels like
Motion
we had,
carried.
though.
Meeting is
I'm gonna go
adjourned.
up and see
Yeah, let's go
JD.
see him.
I'm not wasting time, I'm typing up a
I'd say you
workshop. Oh, I thought you, yeah.
We're sitting here jabbering.
Kelly, thank you.
Excellent, okay, good deal.